Chapter 987. For most ordinary people, an engagement was just a formality. However, for many rich and powerful families, it seemed to be very important, especially this kind of family marriage. It was a signal and news announced to the public, so some situations had to be taken seriously. As for the Qin family, needless to say, the Qin family was in a crisis. As for the Qin family, it was needless to say, the Qin family was already in a crisis. The announcement of the marriage between the Qin family and the Song family had already shocked many people. That was because of the Song family's family background and Song Ruyu's various halos. No one had expected that the Song family would marry their daughter to the Qin family, which was now in a quagmire. The Qin family was not simple either. First of all, the Qin family had been so glorious in the past. 2 years ago, Qin Chang'an had even reached the peak of his life. Many people in the business world in China could only look up to him. Moreover, Qin Sheng had a relationship with the Zhu family, which was even more thought-provoking. Everyone knew that it was not the Qin family, but the Zhu family and Song Jia who could take the initiative to unite the Qin family by marriage. Therefore, instead of saying it was a marriage between the Qin family and the Zhu family, it was more thought-provoking. Moreover, because of the Qin family's various things, the outside world had always been pessimistic about this marriage. Many outsiders who did not know the inside story thought that it might be a pretense, and it was very likely to end without any problems. Therefore, the Qin family made such a big fanfare to tell everyone that this marriage was already a done deal. Therefore, although it was just an engagement party, it looked incomparably grand. As for the future marriage, it seemed to be insignificant. When Qin Sheng arrived at the community where Song Ruyu's parents lived, the Song family was already waiting for him. At the same time, they brought over a dozen gifts prepared by the Qin family, which were all moved into the Song family's house by Chang Baji and the others. After greeting the Song family, Qin Sheng drove to the Qin family's winery in the suburbs with them. In addition to Song Ruyu's parents and Song Ruyu, there were also a cousin and a younger cousin who were close to Song Ruyu. They were all from Song Ruyu's uncle and aunt's family. Perhaps because they were relatively young, they were more noisy. When they arrived at Qin Sheng's side, they asked him for red packets. Fortunately, Zhao Anji had prepared some red packets before she went out. She knew that there were several children in the Song family, so she gave them to Qin Sheng in case of emergencies. In order to give Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu some time to be alone, Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu were the only ones in the car, except for the driver, Chang Baji. The others sat in the car behind Qin Sheng. Song Ryu was still wearing the same clothes as before. The clothes for the engagement ceremony were all at the winery. Qin Ran had hired a professional makeup team to wait for her. It could be seen that the Qin family attached great importance to this event. After getting in the car, Qin Sheng held Song Ruyu's hand and asked, "Are you nervous?" Song Ryu lowered her head and said shyly, "A little. Don't be nervous. It's just an engagement ceremony today. There are no outsiders. They're all direct relatives of our two families. You met them before. Just treat it as usual. Everyone will probably say some blessings and exhortations. You just need to say a few more words of thanks." Qin Sheng comforted her with a smile. Until now, he still felt a little dreamy. This woman had finally become his other half. Song Ryu laughed and said, "Why does it sound like it's not your first time?" Qin Sheng couldn't help laughing and said, "Actually, I'm a little nervous. After all, it's also my first time. I'm comforting you. If you're not nervous, I won't be nervous either." Hearing Qin Sheng's honest confession, Song Ryu couldn't help but laugh and stare at him coquettishly. Song Ryu murmured to herself, "Uncle and aunt, they should have gone to the hospital to pick up Grandpa." Qin Sheng touched Song Ryu's hair and said, "Don't worry about it. Just take care of yourself today." At this time, Qin Sheng thought of something and asked with interest, "By the way, will Song Heshing come today? I'm afraid that he will make trouble." Song Ryu muttered in a low voice, "I don't know. He hasn't contacted me recently. After being grounded by Grandpa, he went to work step by step. I don't know whether he will come today or not. Even if he does, he won't make trouble. He's not that bold. Otherwise, Grandpa will break his legs," Song Ryu muttered in a low voice. Qin Sheng thought about it and agreed with her. It seemed that he had worried for nothing. In less than an hour, they arrived at the winery of the Qin family. Before entering the winery, they felt that the security was very strict these days. Several police cars were parked at the intersection. The inspection at the gate was even stricter. They were allowed to enter according to the VIP list of the Qin family and the Song family. There were countless security guards around and inside the winery. Almost all the bodyguards of the Qin family had been dispatched. Nothing could happen today. Therefore, even Qin Sheng's and Song Ruyu's cars were checked and allowed to enter. When the cars stopped at the gate of the winery, Zhao Anji was already waiting there with Qin Ran and the others. Lin Shi, Wang Li, and Xian were also waiting there. They wanted Song Ruyu's parents to meet Qin Sheng's adoptive parents. After Song Ruyu's parents got out of the car, Zhao Anji quickly went to greet them and greeted them with a smile. Song Ruyu's parents were all dressed up today. After all, they were half the protagonists. Song Ryu followed Qin Sheng to greet Uncle Lin and Auntie Wang. This was also the first time for Xian to meet her future sister-in-law. Maybe because she had already known some news, she was not surprised by her sister-in-law's beauty. At this time, Zhao Anji walked to Lin Shi and Wang Li with Song Ruyu's parents and said, "In-laws, let me introduce them to you. I guess Ryu has already told you that these two are Qin Sheng's adoptive parents. Thanks to them, Qin Sheng can become what he is today. They are also part of the Qin family." Song Ruyu's father quickly shook hands with Lin Shi and said, "Oh, you are Qin Sheng's adoptive parents. We are also in-laws in the future." Lin Shi found Song Ruyu's father somewhat familiar, as if he had seen him on TV before. He responded politely, "Today is a big day for our two families. We are all in-laws, all in-laws." On the other side, Song Ruyu's mother and Wang Li began chatting about the two children. Everyone's faces were full of warm smiles. At this time, Zhao Anji hurriedly looked at Qin Sheng and Song Ryu and said, "My two ancestors, look at the time. Why are you still here? Hurry up and put on makeup and change your clothes. Otherwise, how are you going to welcome your grandparents, uncles, and aunties?" Everyone was amused by Zhao Anji's words and laughed at the same time. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu did not dare to delay. They were pulled into the winery by Qin Ran and Qin Jing. The makeup team was already waiting inside. About half an hour later, Qin Sheng was the first to come out. He changed into the engagement dress chosen by the day and even redid his hair. He even applied something on his face. Qin Sheng really could not stand makeup. However, at the thought of today's occasion, he finally compromised and looked extremely handsome and spirited. As soon as Qin Sheng walked out of the room, Chang Baji could not help but say, "Handsome." Even Chang Baji, who usually praised others, could not help but praise Qin Sheng today. It could be seen how dazzling Qin Sheng was. It was estimated that Song Ryu would not be finished in a short time. After all, women were different from men. It would be difficult to finish in less than an hour. Qin Sheng took advantage of this time to familiarize himself with today's affairs. At the same time, he greeted the busy people, especially Uncle Gong's son, who was in charge of today's affairs. When he saw Uncle Gong's son, Qin Sheng said calmly, "Uncle Gong's son, you've worked hard today." Gong's son was dressed more formally today. He smiled and said, "Young master, it's nothing. I'm happy today. I'm happier than I've ever been in the past, because today is your big day." If only Master Qin could see this scene. This was something that no one was willing to mention and did not want to mention. It was Qin Chang'an's affair. His biological son was getting engaged today, but his biological father could not be there. It was such a pity. After all, it was not a wedding, so there was still a wedding. Therefore, Qin Sheng comforted him, "Uncle Gong's son. It's just an engagement. When it's time to get married, I will be able to attend. That's for sure." Gong's son smiled and said. After that, Qin Sheng met Hao Lei, Yujbak, and the others who were in charge of various affairs in the winery. They smiled and wished Qin Sheng well. At the same time, they praised Qin Sheng, especially Hao Lei. He smiled and said, "You're so handsome even at the engagement. How will you look when you get married in the future?" Qin Sheng laughed and said, "You will also have such a day. When Qin Sheng arrived at the VIP lounge of the winery, Song Ruyu's parents, Lin Shi and Wang Li, were all there chatting. Zhao Anji also accompanied them. Everything that needed to be arranged had been arranged. The rest of the things were left to Gong Sun, and he did not need to worry about it. When everyone saw Qin Sheng coming in, they were stunned subconsciously. As the saying goes, clothes make the man. They were used to seeing Qin Sheng's unruly look. Today, Qin Sheng was so formal, which really made them feel refreshed. This should be Qin Sheng's original look. Zhao Anji, Lin Shi, and Wang Li were proud of him from the bottom of their hearts. Song Ruyu's parents also thought that this son-in-law was not bad. No wonder their daughter agreed to this marriage. Such a son-in-law was outstanding enough, not to mention his family background. Shenger has really grown up, Wang Li said with red eyes. She had waited for so many years, and finally this day had come. Lin, she said happily, this boy did not embarrass me. Song Ruyu's father could not help but say, he has the demeanor of his father. Song Ruyu's mother was a little sad. If only his mother could see it. How wonderful it would be. Zhao Anji hurriedly changed the topic. You guys, you better wait a little longer. When Ryu comes out, you will open your eyes wide. I have seen the photos of Ryu when she was trying on clothes. Even I think that Qin Sheng does not deserve Ryu. Song Ruyu's father hurriedly said, alas, how can you say that? At this time, Qin Sheng had already walked over. He smiled and greeted the elders. Then he sat down and chatted. The guests had not arrived yet, and Song Ryu had not come out yet. There was nothing to do at this time. Just after 11 o'clock, Song Ryu finally finished her makeup and changed her clothes. Qin Ran and Qin Jing accompanied Song Ryu into the VIP lounge. When everyone saw Song Ryu dressed like this, they were extremely amazed and shocked, because at this moment, Song Ryu was really beautiful, like a fairy descending to the world, which made everyone feel a little unreal. Song Ryu's mother could not help but ask her husband, old man, is this our daughter? Why did Song Ryu's mother say so? Because they had never seen their daughter dressed so formally. Even they were shocked. Song Ryu's father said excitedly, yes. How could she not be our daughter? Only we could have such a daughter. Although Lin Shi and Wang Li had seen Song Ryu, they were still shocked by her appearance. They finally understood why Zhao Anji had said that just now. Who would not want such a daughter-in-law? As for Zhao Anji, although she had seen Song Ryu's photos and heard about it from Qin Ran and Qin Jing, she could not help but nod when she saw Song Ryu in person. No wonder Song Ryu had been coveted by so many young talents and rich and powerful families in Sijio City for a long time. If she were an elder, she would also want such a daughter-in-law. The Qin family had found a treasure this time. Qin Sheng had already stood up slowly and walked over. Under the gaze of everyone, he held Song Ryu's hand. Although he had seen her before, he still felt a little absent-minded when he saw her. Of course, the other beauties were also very beautiful. Qin Ran, Qin Jing, and Qin Xin had just put on makeup and changed their clothes. However, they were still not as beautiful as Song Ryu. Nevertheless, the appearance of these beauties really made the whole lounge shine in an instant. However, before everyone came to their senses, Gong Sun had already come in to inform them that the elders of the Song family and the Zhu family were about to arrive. Then everyone hurriedly stood up and went to the main door to welcome them. Chapter 988. Chapter 984. Congratulations and congratulations. It was the day of engagement, a day of great happiness. All the big shots gathered together. How could not be lively? The two most dazzling stars today were Qin Sheng and Song Ryu. Qin Sheng was unrestrained most of the time. He had to wear formal clothes to look decent when he went to Chang'an often. However, he was still far from being as dazzling as he was today. As for Song Ryu, she had never looked so exquisite before. Perhaps it was because Song Ryu was already so stunning that she didn't need to dress up. Even if she attended some activities or banquets, Song Ryu would at most put on some light makeup and wear a gown. Today, the makeup alone was done by a professional team, not to mention this gown that had been carefully selected. However, how could such a grand occasion lack the presence of these big shots? Without the presence of these distinguished big shots, how could the importance of this engagement banquet be highlighted? Especially Old Master Song and Old Lady Zhu. Although the two families' stabilizing forces were not in good health and had been resting in a hospital for many days, today was the engagement party of their favorite granddaughter and favorite grandson. The two old people said that they had to attend no matter what. They would never miss it. Moreover, this marriage was originally arranged by them. If they didn't attend, it would be a sensitive signal to the outside world. Of course, they didn't want the outside world to interpret it too much. After all, they both hoped that their granddaughter and grandson would be happy and not be disturbed by these trivial things. At the main entrance of the winery, Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu stood in the middle. The Qin family and Song Ruyu's parents stood behind them. They were all dressed up today. If people didn't know what was going on, they would think it was an important event. There were many beautiful women. Besides Song Ruyu, Qin Ran, Qin Jing, Xin Xin, and Song Ruyu's genius cousin, Qin Sheng also saw Nangong. It was rare that Nangong didn't wear her usual clothes. She also wore a gown today, which surprised Qin Sheng. To be honest, Nangong's figure was really good, which was the result of daily exercise. They didn't wait long at the entrance of the winery. The Zhu family's motorcade was the first to arrive. All the members of the Zhu family had come today. Even those who didn't come had sent their blessings and gifts, such as Zhu Jiao's elder brother, who was far away from the frontier. This was the most important and lively event for the Zhu family during this period. No one wanted to miss it. When a motorcade stopped, the first people to get off were naturally the security personnel. This was understandable. After all, Zhu Weigua's identity was the most special. These were all the rules. But soon after, the Zhu family members got off the motorcade. Old Lady Zhu was helped out of the car by her daughter, Zhu Qingwen, and daughter-in-law, Wu Yajun. The old lady was wearing a red tang suit today and looked very energetic. More importantly, the old lady was happier than ever. Her face was filled with a smile that couldn't be hidden. After the Zhu family's people got off the motorcade, they gathered in front of the Zhu family's old lady like stars surrounding the moon. There were nearly 20 people, big and small, which showed how prosperous the Zhu family was. The crowd at the entrance looked very imposing. The most important figures, apart from the elderly old lady Zhu, were Zhu Weigua and Zhu Chongshan. One was an important figure in the military, while the other was a high-ranking official in charge of Shanghai. One had already reached the peak of his career, while the other had the possibility of advancing further in his career. How could the Zhu family not be dazzling? This was also the most important reason why many people didn't dare to hit the Qin family when they were down. It was also the important reason why the Qin family could turn the situation around. Among the people present, only the 3 members of the Lin family didn't know the details of the Zhu family. Wang Li and Xin Xin didn't care about the current political news, so they might not recognize Zhu Weigua and Zhu Chongshan. However, Lin Shi recognized the 2 important figures at a glance. He couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. No wonder there were military vehicles and police cars here today. Qin Sheng's grandmother's family was more powerful than he had imagined. At this time, the Zhu family had helped the old lady walk over slowly. The crowd at the entrance also hurried to welcome them. Today, the old lady didn't sit in a wheelchair and insisted on walking. Otherwise, she would be a disgrace to her grandson. No one could persuade her. Grandma! When Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu walked to the front of the old lady, they hurried to greet the old lady. As Song Ruyu's grandmother, the old lady's smile became wider. Even the other members of the Zhu family had to admire Song Ruyu's magnanimity. As for Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu's dazzling performance today, they had already seen it. They were not only amazed, but also proud and happy from the bottom of their hearts. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu were really a talented couple. They were a match made in heaven. Since Qin Sheng could marry such a daughter-in-law like Ryu, the ancestors of the Zhu family and the Qin family were really lucky. Now, everyone could not help but marvel at the old lady's boldness. Many elders in the family could not settle the matter, but the old lady did it just like that. Song Ryu was such a beautiful, elegant, and talented daughter-in-law. Who wouldn't want her? At this time, the old lady also held Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu's hands and nodded with a smile. She was so excited that she didn't know what to say. However, the happiness and satisfaction in her eyes couldn't be hidden. At this time, Zhao Anji walked forward on behalf of the Qin family and said, "Old lady, you're so energetic today." Zhao Anji hadn't seen the old lady of the Zhu family for many years. After Qin Sheng's mother passed away, the Zhu family was quite dissatisfied with the Qin family. They didn't have any contact with each other except for the two children. Moreover, Zhao Anji had been in Canada all these years. Naturally, she didn't have any contact with the old lady anymore. Although the old lady was dissatisfied with the Qin family, Zhao Anji was only the daughter-in-law of the Qin family. Moreover, it was such a happy event today, so the old lady couldn't put on airs. She said slowly, "Anji, you've worked hard during this period." Hearing this, Zhao Anji was somewhat moved. She said, "Old lady, it's not hard at all. I'm very happy to see the two children together." The old lady smiled and nodded at Zhao Anji. During this period, Zhao Anji had done for the Qin family and the two children, which was obvious to all. The old lady was quite satisfied. "Old lady, please come in." Zhao Anji welcomed the old lady. At this time, Qin Sheng and Song Ryu looked at their uncle, aunt, small aunt, and uncle-in-law and greeted them respectfully. Qin Sheng called Song Ryu as he liked, which made the Zhu family very happy. Zhu Weigua even patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, "Little brat, you should be happy secretly." Qin Sheng laughed. Of course, he knew what his uncle meant. Even Zhu Changshun said to Qin Sheng, "Little brat, you should treat Ryu better in the future. Otherwise, we'll punish you." "Uncle, don't worry. I dare not bully her." Qin Sheng replied obediently. Wu Yajun and Zhu Qingwen pulled Song Ryu and said, "She's so beautiful. She's already beautiful. After dressing up, she's even more beautiful. Our Qin Sheng is so lucky." Song Ryu lowered her head and smiled shyly. Her shy look was even more charming. After greeting the elders, Qin Sheng and Song Ryu greeted their cousins of the same generation. Everyone also congratulated the two newlyweds. Most of them were familiar with Song Ryu. They had met each other often when they were young. However, they didn't play together as they grew up. They didn't expect that the two families would be even happier in the end. Zhu Jiao put his arm around Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, "Cousin, you've made a fortune this time. F***ck off." Qin Sheng scolded angrily. Zhu Jiao had no choice but to say, "You know I'm short of money. I didn't prepare any gifts for you and my cousin-in-law. I'll owe it to you. I'll pay you back later when I earn money." Qin Sheng didn't bother to pay attention to this silly guy. He was sure that he had done something bad again. The money he borrowed last time had been stolen by him. The old lady walked a few steps forward and saw Song Ryu's parents. Song Ryu's parents hurriedly greeted the old lady and the members of the Zhu family. The two families, which had been very familiar with each other, had become in-laws again. The old lady held Song Ryu's parents' hands and talked with them for a long time. Most of her words were praising Song Ryu and the Zhu family for raising such an excellent daughter. Song Ryu's parents couldn't stop smiling. After the old lady and the Zhus took a few steps forward, they saw the three members of the Lin family. Before Zhao, Anji, and Qin Ran said anything, Zhu Qingwen took the initiative to introduce them. "Mom, these are Qin Sheng's adoptive parents. Without them, Qin Sheng wouldn't be who he is today." The old lady had been thinking about this matter. After all, both Zhu Qingwen and Qin Ran had told her many times. If it weren't for the old lady's poor health, she would have met Lin Shi and Wang Li long ago. Today, she finally met them. After hearing this, Lin Shi and Wang Li took 2 steps forward to say hello to the old lady. "Old lady, congratulations." "Same to you. I want to apologize to you. I should have visited you in person, but my health doesn't allow me to. Thank you for taking care of Qin Sheng all these years. On behalf of the Zhus, Qin Sheng's grandfather and mother, I thank you." The old lady was very sincere. Tears were already welling up in her eyes. Hearing this, she was very nervous. Zhao Anji said, "Old lady, this is what we should do. You're too serious." Zhu Qingwen hurriedly said, "Mom, calm down. Let's go in and talk slowly." After calming down, the old lady said, "Let's go in and talk. I have a lot to say to you." Everyone happily helped the old lady into the winery and went directly to the banquet hall. Lin Shu was very polite to Zhu Weigua and Zhu Chongshan. He never thought that he would meet such big shots in his life. Life was really wonderful, too wonderful for words. After welcoming the members of the Zhu family, Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu had just rested for a while when the old master of the Song family's motorcade arrived at the gate. Qin Sheng, Song Ruyu's parents, and Zhao Anji hurried out to welcome them. When they came out, old Master Song had already been helped out of the car by the others. Qin Sheng glanced at them subconsciously, but he did not seem to see Song Husheng. It seemed that Song Husheng was really unwilling to turn back until he hit the wall. Maybe he thought that if he attended this engagement party today, he would be lowering his head to Qin Sheng. Therefore, it was better for him not to come, in case he fell out with Qin Sheng at that time. When Qin Sheng and Song Ryu saw Old Master Song, they shouted happily, "Grandpa!" Although Old Master Song was staggering, he was dressed in a happy outfit today, which was similar to Old Lady Zhu's outfit. However, he first looked at Song Ryu and said, "Wow, my Ryu has finally grown up. I'm really happy to see you like this." "Grandpa," Song Ryu said excitedly. Old Master Song looked at Qin Sheng and said, "Well, not bad. You are even more handsome than your father when he was young. If your grandpa could see you, he would be very satisfied." Since everyone was so happy today, Qin Sheng did not want to talk about the past, but he often sighed that it would be great if his grandpa and mom could see them. As for his old man, he could not do anything about it. "Grandpa, let's help you in," Qin Sheng said with a smile. Zhao Anji also greeted Old Master Song politely. At this time, Qin Sheng and Song Ryu also took the time to greet the other members of the Song family, including the Song family's eldest brother and his wife, Song Ruyu's aunt and uncle, and of course Song Ruyu's cousins. Compared with the Zhu family, there were fewer people in the Song family. Song Ruyu's aunt and uncle seemed to be in a good mood and said a few more words to Qin Sheng and Song Ryu. However, Song Ruyu's uncle and aunt just nodded, which Qin Sheng could understand. When Qin Sheng and Song Ryu walked into the banquet hall with Old Master Song's help, all the members of the Zhu family saw Old Master Song coming in. They hurriedly helped Old Lady Zhu to stand up and welcome Old Master Song. The two families finally walked together. After the arrival of the two families, the atmosphere of the banquet hall finally became lively. At this time, Qin Sheng and Song Ryu also took the time to greet Song Ruyu's uncle and aunt with Song Ruyu's parents. Qin Sheng did not have much contact with Song Ruyu's maternal grandfather's family, nor had he heard about it from others. However, it seemed that it was not a simple family. When Qin Sheng saw the members of Song Ruyu's maternal grandfather's family, he had no impression of Song Ruyu's aunt and uncle. He just greeted them politely. However, when he saw Song Ruyu's uncle, Qin Sheng found him somewhat familiar. It seemed that he had seen him on the news some time ago. If he remembered correctly, this man had just been transferred to a provincial standing committee in the north. This surprised Qin Sheng a little. Why didn't Song Ryu mention it? However, these were all off topic. After all, compared with the Song family, Song Ruyu's maternal grandfather's family was far inferior. Otherwise, the Song family would have directly decided on Song Ruyu's marriage without discussing it with the Song family, and the Song family could not say anything about it. Qin Sheng was not familiar with the Song family, so he could only greet them politely and respond to their inquiries and blessings. However, it seemed that they were quite satisfied with him. After greeting the relatives of Song Ruyu's maternal grandfather's family, all the VIPs today had arrived. They all sat in the banquet hall, walking around, greeting and chatting with each other. However, most of the words they said today were congratulations. This was a grand occasion for the four families, and it was rare for them to gather together like this. Before the engagement banquet began, Gong Sun informed Qin Sheng that many families in Sijio City had sent their congratulatory gifts directly to the banquet hall. This surprised Qin Sheng and the others, including the Su family, the sixth uncle, and so on. As for the He family and the Yang family, they were not surprised. However, Many of them had a good relationship with the Qin family in the past. However, after the Qin family's accident, they stopped contacting each other and suddenly sent congratulatory gifts today. It seemed that this engagement banquet had sent out the most obvious signal to many people. Chapter 989. At this moment, Qin Sheng finally understood why those big families advocated family marriages throughout the ages. It was no wonder that there were those famous families that had existed for hundreds of years. It was because only family marriages could continue the vigorous vitality of a family. Common interests and common goals made them become a solid block. Of course, this was only one of the ways. The other way was to continue to cultivate outstanding younger generations. Only in this way could a family become more and more powerful instead of gradually declining. Otherwise, even if there was a layer of protection of family marriages, the power of the family would gradually decline and the strength of the marriage partner would gradually weaken. In the end, the family would disappear in the long river of history. Otherwise, how could there be so many families that were very powerful at the beginning, and even the marriage partner was a good match, but in the end, they all disappeared? What the Qin family knew about the marriage between Qin and Song was only their own interpretation, because the Qin family knew their own situation better than anyone else. However, the outside world did not know many things and often overinterpreted it. In the end, there was a result of information asymmetry. For example, at this moment, because the Qin family knew that neither the Song family nor the Zhu family would directly help, nor would they interfere with Qin Chang'an's affairs. In the end, what they wanted to do was to let the Qin family settle down smoothly, such as safely withdrawing from Chang'an. However, the outside world might think that Qin Chang'an might be safe because of the help of the Zhu family and the Song family. That was why the current situation happened. When Gongsun came to report the news, Qin Sheng was preparing backstage. The MC had already gone on the stage and was saying the opening speech to warm up the scene. At the same time, he thanked his relatives and friends who came to today's engagement party. After listening to Gongsun's report, Qin Sheng said thoughtfully, "I can understand sixth uncle and the others, but I don't understand the others. They are really here to join in the fun." The timing was really good. They sent the gifts after the 4 big families had arrived. They must have been prepared for a long time and only needed to confirm the news to send the gifts. Gongsun said calmly, "I have checked the gifts they sent. There's no danger, and they all look very expensive. Now I have asked someone to put them in the lounge and arrange for someone to take care of them. After the engagement party is over, you can go and have a look when you have time." "Okay, I got it. Uncle Gongsun, you have worked hard. Now there is nothing else. Please take a seat," Qin Sheng said with a smile. Before Gongsun left, he patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and said, "Don't be nervous later." After Gongsun left, Song Ruyu walked over slowly. Several makeup artists had just touched up her makeup. She asked casually, "What's wrong?" Qin Sheng smiled and explained, "It's nothing. Some friends sent some gifts. Uncle Gongsun told me, and I asked them to send them to your place. There are probably some jewelry and so on. Anyway, I don't need them." Song Ruyu held Qin Sheng's arm. Nowadays, this kind of intimate action was getting more and more casual. She laughed and said, "Why did you send it to me? Have you forgotten that I'm a public servant? I don't usually have the chance to wear these things. Besides, it's not safe to send them to me. You'd better keep them. Courtesy demands reciprocity. If you want to give them to others in the future, you don't have to spend money anymore." Qin Sheng touched Song Ruyu's hair and said with a smile, "You're right. Let's leave it at home first. We'll move it to the wedding house later. It seems that it's important to have a diligent and thrifty wife." He was becoming more and more unscrupulous with his bold actions. Fortunately, Song Ryu didn't care about it anymore. Song Ryu glared at Qin Sheng, thinking that all kinds of charm were just SOSO. At this time, the staff reminded Qin Sheng and Song Ryu that it was time for them to appear. When they walked to the exit, they heard the host say, "Let's welcome our prince and princess today," with the warmest applause and cheers. The applause outside was thunderous. Everyone was not stingy with their applause. The young people took the lead in cheering. Among them, Zhu Jiao was the most excited. Of course, Song Ryu's cousins also cheered. The elders were very reserved. After all, most of them were in high positions and were relatively low-key. Qin Sheng muttered in a low voice, "Why does it sound like a wedding?" Hearing this, Song Ryu smiled slightly. To be honest, she also thought so. After all, this engagement party was so grand and important, and the Song family took the Qin family's opinion as the main priority. When Song Ryu held Qin Sheng's arm and appeared on the stage, this pair of golden boy and jade girl, who everyone thought was a perfect match, completely ignited the atmosphere of the audience. Everyone present was the parents of the two children. Everyone present was a direct relative of the two children. How could they not be excited, happy, and gratified? Therefore, the cheers and applause were even more enthusiastic. Even the staff present applauded and cheered for them sincerely, because this was a real match made in heaven. In the simplest words, the beautiful married the handsome, and the rich finally got married. Standing on the stage in front of so many relatives, Qin Sheng and Song Ryu just smiled. However, they looked a little nervous and restrained. Although they were well prepared, they were still a little nervous when the moment came. When the host signaled for them to stop applauding and cheering, everyone was chatting in low voices. They were all praising Qin Sheng and Song Ryu. Song Ryu's relatives praised Qin Sheng, and Qin Sheng's relatives naturally praised Song Ryu. In the end, everyone was very happy. Lin Shi and Wang Li were two of them. Lin Shi and Wang Li did not expect that they would be arranged to sit at the main table, because this table was occupied by the most distinguished guests of the two families. Needless to say, Old Master Song and Old Lady Zhu, followed by Song Ryu's parents, Zhao Anji and Qin Ran. Even Zhu Weigua and Zhu Changshun could only sit at the second table next to them. In the beginning, Lin Shi and Wang Li were very nervous, especially when they saw Song Ryu's grandfather. Lin Shi was so surprised that his jaw almost dropped because this old man's identity was so special. Almost every time there was a big occasion, he would be seen on the screen. Moreover, the old man was often surrounded by leaders. He did not expect that Song Ryu's grandfather was actually this old man, and he did not expect that he could sit at the same table as this old man. Of course, when he knew that this old man was Song Ryu's grandfather, Lin Shi understood everything. No wonder Qin Sheng had no choice, because he really had no choice. The host had already met the two newlyweds and was already impressed by their appearance and temperament. People born in big families were indeed different. He smiled and said, "Prince and Princess, please say hello to everyone." The hostess brought the microphone over. Qin Sheng held it and said slowly, "Hello, Grandpa, Grandma, uncles, aunties." Song Ryu was simple. She smiled and said, "Hello, everyone." The host teased, "It seems that we are a little nervous with the prince and princess. Are you nervous?" The host asked. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu looked at each other, and Qin Sheng motioned for Song Ryu to answer first. "A little nervous," Song Ryu said obediently. Qin Sheng said, half jokingly, "It's my first time. How can I not be nervous?" Hearing this, the audience burst into laughter. Old Lady Zhu said angrily, "You brat, what nonsense are you talking about? Young people are always like this," Old Master Song said happily. The host almost couldn't catch it. He wanted to ask Qin Sheng how many times he wanted to do it, but this was not an ordinary family, so he could only say, "Once is enough." Then he quickly changed the topic. Then the host asked a lot of other questions. Song Ryu's answers were relatively simple and obedient, while Qin Sheng always made people laugh. The audience was full of laughter. Even Song Ryu almost laughed out loud. Correspondingly, they were not nervous anymore. Finally, the host set the stage. He looked at Qin Sheng and Song Ryu and said, "I've said what I should say. Now it's your turn. Do you have any sincere words to say to each other?" This time, Qin Sheng also wanted Song Ryu to say first, but Song Ryu insisted. Qin Sheng didn't think much about it. He picked up the microphone and said, "First of all, allow me to thank everyone for your support. Without your support, Ryu and I would not be where we are today. Secondly, I want to thank my grandma, who loves me the most. Grandma, thank you for waiting for me for so many years. Shenger, you've been waiting for me for a long time. After saying that, Qin Sheng looked at old lady Zhu and bowed deeply. Hearing this, Song Ryu hurriedly bowed to the old lady. Qin Sheng had already thought about it long ago. He had to thank his grandmother. Old lady Zhu's eyes turned red when she heard the grandson she loved the most say such words in front of everyone. Qin Ran, who was sitting next to the old lady, hurriedly handed her a tissue. The others were also moved. Qin Sheng stood up and continued, "Secondly, I want to thank my adoptive parents. Since my grandfather brought me to Xi'an, my adoptive parents have been taking care of me. Without them, I might not be who I am today. So I want to thank them. Uncle Lin, Annie Wang, thank you." After saying that, Qin Sheng looked at Lin Shi and Wang Li and bowed again. Song Ryu naturally followed suit. Lin Shi and Wang Li were also moved by Qin Sheng. It did not occur to them that Qin Sheng would pay so much attention to them and thank them on such an occasion. Since Qin Sheng had returned to the Qin family, they felt like their son, whom they had raised for many years, had been taken away. Because of the Qin family's family background, Lin Shi and Wang Li always felt that Qin Sheng would gradually stay away from them. Now, they finally felt relieved because they had not raised this son in vain. The Qin family and the Zhu family were clear about what had happened between Qin Sheng and the Lin family, but the other two families did not know. Now that they finally understood this, they could not help but feel deep respect for Lin Shi and Wang Li. At the same time, they felt gratified by Qin Sheng's gratitude. They were most satisfied with Qin Sheng's behavior. Old Master Song and the elders of the two families could not help nodding. After Qin Sheng stood up, he continued, "Now I want to thank my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Thank you for cultivating such an excellent daughter. Thank you for your trust in me. Thank you for handing her over to me. I, Qin Sheng, will definitely not let you down." After that, Qin Sheng and Song Ryu bowed again. Song Ryu's parents were also very moved. They could not help but tear up because their daughter had chosen the right person. They believed that Qin Sheng would make their daughter happy. "I know many people think that I don't deserve you because you're so beautiful and outstanding. Even I think so. I don't know what promise I should make to you, but I know that I won't let you suffer any grievances or hardships in this life. I'll try my best to make everyone think that I don't deserve you. Thank you, everyone." Song Ryu's eyes lit up, and she looked at Qin Sheng and said affectionately, "Finally, I'd like to thank you, Ryu. Thank you for meeting you. Thank you so much for meeting you and marrying you. I know that many people think that I don't deserve you because you're so beautiful and outstanding." Qin Sheng's words were very affectionate and sincere. Everyone was moved by Qin Sheng's words. Many people's eyes turned red. They were happy for Qin Sheng and gratified for Song Ryu. Even Song Ryu listened to him with tears in her eyes. At this time, the host said, "I guess all of us are moved by the prince's words. How can such a prince not deserve the princess? At least I think you two are a match made in heaven. Now, what do you want to say to the prince?" Song Ryu picked up the microphone. She did not express much gratitude. She just said lightly, "Many of you may be wondering why I agreed to marry Qin Sheng. Many people don't understand why I chose Qin Sheng instead of so many people over the years. It's not because the Song family and the Qin family are old friends, but because there are some stories that you don't know. When I was a child, I met a little boy who was always smiling. Every time he saw me, he would bring me a stick of candied haws. Every time there was something delicious, he would give it to me first. He would smile and wait for me to finish eating. He would take me out to play secretly and buy all kinds of delicious food for me with his pocket money. Every time someone bullied me, he would hold my hand tightly and stand in front of me without hesitation. He would kiss me secretly and say that he would marry me when he grew up. There were many other things in my childhood. Although I didn't know anything at that time, those things were left in the depths of my memory. However, one day, I suddenly lost him. No one bought me candied haws anymore. No one took me out to play anymore. No one protected me anymore. I asked my mother where he was. She said that he had gone to a faraway place. I thought he didn't want me anymore. I cried secretly many times. However, I firmly believed that he would come back one day. Then he would walk up to me with a firm smile and say gently, "I'm back and I'm here to marry you." I've been waiting and waiting. I thought he would never come back. I thought he went to a faraway place and went to heaven. Because of this, I was sad many times. Just like that, I waited for more than 20 years. When I was almost 30 years old, I finally waited for him. He didn't break his promise. He finally came back. And this time, I don't want to lose him again. This was the story of the prince and the princess. This was the first time that Song Ryu had revealed her true feelings. Song Ryu finally gave the answer that everyone had been waiting for. This was a story that belonged to Song Ryu alone. This was also a scene that Qin Sheng had not expected. Not to mention Qin Sheng. All the people present were moved to tears after hearing Song Ryu's words. No one said a word because they were all shocked. Many women were so moved by Song Ryu that they kept wiping their tears. No one had expected such a story to happen. As for Qin Sheng, he was already stunned and looked around blankly. Chapter 990. The Song family helped the Qin family when they were in danger and pulled the Qin family out of the quagmire. However, the public's analysis of this marriage was that the Qin family benefited greatly from the Song family. The Song family was far superior to the Qin family in terms of both their current situation and their own strength. Why did the Song family do this? Apart from the fact that the Qin family and the Song family were old friends, the public didn't know any other reasons, so they didn't understand. Therefore, everyone sighed with emotion and felt it was a pity that Song Ryu, the favored girl of Sijio City, married Qin Sheng, a down-and-out playboy. At the same time, they envied and hated Qin Sheng because Qin Sheng didn't deserve the Song goddess, whom many young talents in Sijio City yearned for day and night. However, the Song goddess couldn't bear the pressure from her family and finally agreed to the marriage. It was really like a toad eating swan meat. However, they didn't know the real inside story. What was the real inside story? The real inside story was that even the Qin family, the Song family, and the Zhu family didn't know why Song Ryu agreed to the marriage. At that time, the old lady of the Zhu family almost didn't have any hope, and even old Master Song felt that it was a bit uncertain. Although the Qin family and the Song family had an arranged marriage many years ago, so many years had passed, and Qin Sheng had disappeared for so many years. This joke couldn't be taken too seriously. Moreover, old Master Song also told Song Ryu at that time that she should choose according to her own ideas. If she wanted to, she could. If she didn't, Grandpa wouldn't force her because it was related to her happiness. Grandpa wouldn't sacrifice her happiness for anything. Unexpectedly, she agreed without any hesitation. Old Master Song was a bit surprised at that time. Until now, he still thought that this granddaughter agreed because of her family. Of course, maybe she had a good impression of Qin Sheng. However, after hearing the news, the Song family, the Zhu family, and the Qin family were somewhat confused. The Song family was probably the most surprised. Numerous families had taken the initiative to be a matchmaker, and numerous young talents had pursued Song Ryu. However, Song Ryu had not agreed yet. They also thought that Song Ryu deserved any man, but why did she agree to marry Qin Sheng? The Zhu family and the Qin family were secretly happy. They felt that although Qin Sheng was excellent, there was still a gap between him and Song Ryu. They really didn't know why Song Ryu had agreed. They naturally thought that Song Ryu had been pressured by the Song family. After all, the Qin family had done the Song family a favor, and the Song family owed the Qin family a favor. In the end, Qin Sheng was surprised. Although he had met Song Ryu several times after he came back, they did not have many chances to be alone. Moreover, Qin Sheng had Lin Su at that time. Although he admitted that Song Ryu was beautiful and outstanding, how could he let his imagination run wild? However, Song Ryu had been nice to Qin Sheng at that time. She had always taken the initiative to contact him. At that time, Qin Sheng was a bit confused. Why did Song Ryu, who was said to be cold and aloof, treat him so well? However, this was not enough for Qin Sheng to believe that Song Ryu would be willing to marry him, because marriage was the guarantee of a woman's happiness. He and Song Ryu did not even have a relationship. How could Song Ryu believe that he would give her happiness? Therefore, Qin Sheng thought that Song Ryu had agreed to marry him because of her family. Today, at this moment, there was no need for others to guess. Song Ryu told everyone the answer herself. It was a fairy tale that belonged to her and Qin Sheng, a fairy tale that even Qin Sheng, the person involved, did not know. After Song Ruyu finished her story, she just looked at Qin Sheng with a smile. However, she could not hide the tenderness in her eyes. She had been telling the story in a very calm tone. Although she had touched everyone, she, the person involved, was calm because this was her story. At the main table, old lady Zhu, who had been moved by Qin Sheng, did not expect that she would be even more moved. She really did not expect that Song Ruyu had such a story. At this moment, Song Ruyu's position in her heart became more and more stable. She felt that this was a gift from God to the Zhu family and the Song family. With such a granddaughter-in-law, she would have no regrets even if she left now, because she could face Qin Sheng's grandfather and mother calmly. The old lady kept crying. Qin Ran, who was also moved to tears, hurried to comfort the old lady. She was afraid that the old lady would be too excited and hurt her health. She smiled with tears in her eyes and said, "Grandma, don't cry. This is a happy thing. Qin Sheng has married such a daughter-in-law. We should be happy. You should take care of yourself, or everyone will be worried." The old lady wiped her tears with a tissue and said, Okay. I won't cry. They're all good children. I am happy." Although the old master of the Song family was not as excited as the old lady, he was also wiping his tears. He muttered to himself, "You silly girl, why didn't you tell Grandpa earlier? You made him worry for so long. I always thought that you were wronged. I didn't expect that you knew what you should do better than anyone else." Song Ruyu's parents were also comforting each other. They were happier than anyone else because they knew that their daughter had chosen Qin Sheng for no other reason. She had chosen Qin Sheng purely because she liked him and loved him. Wasn't such a fairy tale love beautiful enough? Everyone would be envious. "Are you relieved now?" Song Ruyu's father held his wife's hand and said with a smile. He knew that although his wife was very satisfied with Qin Sheng, his daughter had not liked anyone else for so many years. Why did she choose Qin Sheng, who was not outstanding? They were afraid that their daughter would be wronged, and even more afraid that her daughter would not be happy in the future. Therefore, Song Ruyu's mother had secretly cried several times. Song Ruyu's mother wiped her tears and said with a smile, don't worry. This wicked girl has been hiding everything from her since she was a child. As long as she likes him, as long as she is happy, everything will be fine. Humph, don't scold me. Aren't you also relieved?" Song Ruyu's father laughed and said, Don't worry. At this moment, Lin Shi and Wang Li were looking at each other. They were also touched by such love. They could tell what each other wanted to say from their eyes. Although Qin Sheng had missed Lin Su, he had also met Song Ruyu, which was also a kind of happiness. Zhao Anji and Qin Jing, who were next to them, were also excited and burst into tears. Zhao Anji let out a long sigh of relief in her heart. As the only senior in the Qin family who could speak, she had always been worried about Qin Sheng because she knew that Qin Sheng liked Lin Su. For the Qin family, Qin Sheng had abandoned Lin Su and chosen Song Ruyu. What a great sacrifice he had made for the Qin family. Qin Sheng was more wrong than anyone else. Qin Sheng was under a lot of pressure. Qin Sheng was under more pressure than anyone else. However, he never said these things. No matter how others asked him, he acted as if it was nothing. Zhao Anji was afraid that Qin Sheng would suddenly break down one day. Now it seemed that Qin Sheng had gradually accepted this fact. As for those grievances that Qin Sheng had suffered, they would be slowly healed by Ruyu, because she would love Qin Sheng more than anyone else. Zhao Anji felt that Song Ruyu was really a gift from God to the Qin family. As for what people said about whether Song Ruyu was worthy or not, let them be, because they did not know what had happened at all. The more Zhao Anji thought about it, the happier she was. After being busy for so long, she could finally feel a little relieved because she could finally answer to the ancestors of the Qin family and Qin Sheng's parents. She believed that they would also be satisfied with Song Ruyu as their daughter-in-law. At the table this time, everyone's state was similar to that of the people at the main table. However, almost all of them were women who were moved to tears. They did not expect that the answer would be such a romantic fairy tale. All the previous worries disappeared in an instant. Now they only hoped that Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu could be happy, because they would definitely be happy too. At this time, the host also came to his senses. He had presided over many weddings and engagement banquets, but he had never encountered such a love story as today. It was really like a fairy tale. As expected, only a prince and a princess could have a fairy tale. The host calmed himself down and said slowly, "I really did not expect that our princess would have such a fairy tale. It seems that I can imagine what they looked like when they were young. They were childhood sweethearts, and now they have finally tied the knot. It is really a match made in heaven. Let's all congratulate our prince and princess with warm applause and cheers again." Applause and cheers. The atmosphere had reached its peak. Everyone was extremely excited and happy for themselves and happy for the two children. At this moment, Qin Sheng had also come to his senses. He looked at Song Ruyu affectionately with red eyes. This was the answer that Song Ruyu had given him, an answer that shocked and moved him greatly. It turned out that Song Ruyu had chosen him not for any other reason, but because she liked him. She had persisted from childhood until now. Even though he had disappeared for so many years, Song Ruyu had persisted all the time. After hearing Song Ruyu's words, the memories that seemed to have disappeared from his childhood flooded into his mind again. He seemed to see the shy little girl, who was tightly held by him, and strode forward. As they walked, they grew up, and as they walked, they became old. He really wanted to say, "How could I? Qin Sheng, have you?" Qin Sheng did not say anything. He just held Song Ruyu tightly in his arms. What else could be more direct than holding her tightly? When the hug ended, the host said a lot of words to ease the atmosphere, which gradually calmed everyone down. Then he laid out the lines to welcome the elders of the prince to give a speech of thanks to the guests present today. Originally, the elder who gave the speech should have been Qin Chang'an. Unfortunately, Qin Chang'an could not be present today, so the elder who should give the speech should be Zhao Anji, who had been busy preparing for this. However, Zhao Anji gave this opportunity to Qin Sheng's uncle, Zhu Weiguo. This smart choice made the Zhu family very satisfied. After all, the Zhu family status was higher now. It seemed more appropriate for Zhu Weiguo to give the speech, which was also beneficial to the Qin family. Zhu Weiguo slowly stood up and walked to the front of the stage. He smiled and introduced himself as Qin Sheng's uncle. Then he thanked the guests who had taken time out of their busy schedules to attend the engagement party of the two children. Then he thanked the old master and the old lady individually. Finally, he told the love story of Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu, saying that everyone had been moved by the story of the two children. He hoped that the two children would love each other deeply in the future and that they could live happily ever after. In this way, the elders would feel relieved. In the end, Zhu Weiguo represented the elders and wished them happiness. After that, Zhu Weiguo left the stage. The Song family did not expect that Zhu Weiguo would give a speech. It seemed that the Zhu family recognized Qin Sheng as their grandson. Otherwise, it would not be Zhu Weiguo who came up to give a speech. This meant that the marriage was actually a marriage between the Zhu family and the Song family. After Zhu Weiguo left the stage, the main procedures of today's engagement party came to an end. The host announced the official start of the engagement party. After Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu took a short break, they began to toast the elders. The lively engagement party officially began. Today, everyone was in a good mood, so most of the elders drank wine. Even Old Master Song and Old Lady Zhu took a sip of red wine, not to mention the young people. Since they were in a good mood, how could they not drink to their heart's content? Anyway, this was the Qin family's private winery, which was full of the Qin family's treasured wines. There might not be anything else, but they could drink to their heart's content. Chapter 991. Zhu Weiguo knew that he was not the main character today, so he left directly after finishing his speech. He didn't want to waste time by talking too much. After all, many of the people present worked in the system, and they probably hated this kind of long-winded speech the most. Moreover, the Qin family gave him the opportunity to give a speech, which was a great honor for the Zhu family. However, the Zhu family didn't want to steal the host's place. His speech was different from others because he represented the Zhu family and had a special identity. Otherwise, the Qin family wouldn't have given up such an opportunity so easily. When Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu went to the lounge, the makeup team immediately touched up Song Ruyu's makeup. Qin Sheng didn't leave this time. Instead, he sat by Song Ruyu's side and waited for her. Everyone had witnessed their love story, so they were really envious of this golden couple. Qin Sheng kept staring at Song Ruyu, which made Song Ruyu a little restless. She blushed and said, "Don't look at me, or I'll feel embarrassed." Qin Sheng smiled and said, "You're my wife, but you don't want me to look at you. Who do you want to show your face to?" Song Ruyu knew that Qin Sheng was a rascal, so she could only admit defeat. She ignored him and continued to touch up her makeup. After a short while, Song Ruyu finished touching up her makeup. They immediately went back to the banquet hall and began to toast the elders. The banquet hall was very lively at this moment. The guests were drinking and chatting merrily because this was the happiest moment for several families recently. In addition, everyone was moved by Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu's love confession just now. They were really happy for them, so how could they not drink when they were happy? Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu came out to toast. Of course, the person who accompanied them was Qin Sheng's childhood friend, Hao Lei. Qin Ran wanted to follow them, but Qin Sheng thought that since she was his sister, it was better not to bother her on such a happy day. When they came to the main table, Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu had already discussed it. Qin Sheng would first toast to the seniors of the Song family, and then Song Ruyu would toast to the seniors of the Zhu family and the Qin family. After all, the Song family was the guest today, so the seniors of the Zhu family and the Qin family would naturally understand. Everyone was waiting for Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu to propose a toast. When Qin Sheng handed a glass of wine to Old Master Song was already beaming with joy. In the past, Old Master Song always looked serious and serious on TV. However, today Old Master Song was very happy from the bottom of his heart. His face was filled with a warm smile, which could not be dispersed no matter how hard he tried. "Grandpa," Qin Sheng bowed and toasted. Old Master Song took the glass of wine with a smile. Song Ruyu's parents, who were sitting beside him, tried to persuade him to just accept the toast. However, Old Master Song insisted, "I don't need to drink other drinks, but this is a toast for my grandson-in-law. As a grandpa, how can I not drink it?" Old Master Song insisted on drinking this glass of wine. After that, he took out the red envelope that he had prepared in advance. This red envelope had been prepared for many years, and he had been afraid that he would not be able to give it away in his lifetime. He knew how arrogant his granddaughter was, and he had always been worried that he would not be able to give it away in his lifetime. Now, he was completely relieved. Although it was just an engagement party, Old Master Song was very happy. Even if he could not see them getting married, he was already satisfied. "Qin Sheng, today I will hand Ryu over to you. I hope you won't let me down, and I hope you can be happy," Old Master Song said after handing over the red envelope. Qin Sheng nodded heavily. "Grandpa, don't worry. I will." "Grandpa," Song Ryu could not help but say. Old Master Song looked at his favorite granddaughter and said, "Silly girl, you hid it so well that even I didn't know about it. Do you know how long I have been worried about you?" Song Ryu lowered her head in embarrassment. She had not intended to tell others about this story. If Qin Sheng had not been so sincere today, she would have told him on the day of their wedding. After toasting Old Master Song, Qin Sheng walked to Song Ruyu's father and toasted him. "Dad." Although he had not officially changed the way he addressed him, he should call him Dad after the engagement party. As for the ceremony on the day of their wedding, it was just a process. Qin Sheng understood it well, so he directly called him Dad today. Song Ryu's parents only had one precious daughter, Song Ryu. They had been waiting for her to marry someone else. However, their daughter was too arrogant. They had been waiting for many years, but now they finally had the chance. Therefore, Song Ryu's father was very happy when he heard Qin Sheng call him Dad. He took the glass with a smile and said, "Okay." Everyone present was amused. Song Ryu's mother could not help but say, "Look at you." Ignoring the laughter of others, Song Ryu's father took out a red envelope with a smile and said, "Qin Sheng, I won't say anything. If you dare to bully my daughter, I won't forgive you." "Dad, I won't give you this chance," Qin Sheng said without hesitation. Then it was Song Ryu's mother's turn. She felt very comfortable when Qin Sheng called her mom. After drinking the wine, she took out a red envelope and said, "Qin Sheng, treat you well. When you get married, come back more often." "Mom, I will. I'm still craving your braised pork ribs," Qin Sheng said obediently. Song Ryu's mother was very happy to hear such a down-to-earth reply. After the elders of the Song family finished toasting, it was Song Ryu's turn to toast the elders of the Zhu family and the Qin family. The first one was naturally Grandma Zhu, who had been waiting for a long time. When Song Ryu handed the wine glass to the old lady could not wait to take it and said, "Good girl, I'm really happy that Qin Sheng married you." Song Ryu took the initiative to say, "Grandma, drink less. Your health is more important." It's okay, Grandma Zhu said happily. Then the old lady was about to take out the gift. Unfortunately, Qin Sheng's mother had given the bracelet to Lin Su. She had thought that Lin Su would be with Qin Sheng until the end, but she did not expect that such a thing would happen. The old lady did not regret it, but just took it as compensation for Lin Su. After all, Qin Sheng owed Lin Su. This debt of love was the most difficult to repay. Today's gift was a pair of earrings that the old lady had asked Zhu Qingwen to carefully choose. The old lady bought them with her own money. She did not spend anyone else's money, so it could be regarded as a gift from the old lady. When Song Ryu walked to Zhaoanji, the old lady held Qin Sheng and couldn't help crying. "Sheng-er, how good it would be if your mother could see it." Qin Sheng hurriedly comforted her. "Grandma, my mother will definitely know. Don't worry. Take care of yourself." Okay. The old lady had no choice but to nod. At this time, Song Ryu held a glass of wine and said, "Auntie." Zhaoanji was old and tired recently, but she was satisfied with the scene today. She took the wine glass with a smile and sighed. It was really satisfying to have a daughter-in-law like Song Ryu in the Qin family. After drinking, she took out the gift. It was a valuable necklace that she had asked someone to bring back from abroad some time ago. It was a small gift from her. For a daughter-in-law like Song Ryu, no gift was expensive. Zhaoanji did not say much. They still had many days to spend together in the future. After all, Song Ryu was the daughter-in-law of the Qin family. Then it was Qin Ran's turn. She loved Qin Sheng the most. Like Song Ryu, she had waited for Qin Sheng for more than 20 years. She had said that she would not get married until she found her brother. Because of this, she had missed many opportunities. Now that Qin Sheng was engaged, it was her turn. "Sister," Song Ryu said obediently. She was no longer Sister Ran, but the closest sister. Qin Ran took the wine glass with red eyes and drank it in one gulp. Then she took out the gift and handed it to Song Ryu. "You must be happy, okay?" Qin Sheng was a little touched. He directly hugged his sister and couldn't help saying, "Sister, you have worked hard these years." Since her brother said so, what else could Qin Ran say? Needless to say, her gift was a Patek Philippe women's watch. It was a couple's watch with the one she had given to Qin Sheng. She had already prepared it. As for Qin Jing and Xin, the two girls took the initiative to toast Song Ryu and Qin Sheng. They smiled and wished them happiness and so on. Xin no longer gave Qin Sheng a cold look because she had been moved. Women were always so emotional. Qin Jing had nothing to say to Song Ryu, her sister-in-law. When Song Ryu said those words at the foot of the Great Wall, Qin Jing had already admired her very much. Lin Shi and Wang Li were the last ones. They were already very satisfied that they could attend Qin Sheng's engagement party. Moreover, they were really satisfied to see Qin Sheng marry a daughter-in-law like Song Ryu. The two of them smiled and took the wine that Song Ryu toasted. After saying a few words of blessing and warning, they took out the red envelopes and gifts that they had prepared. Although the gifts were not as expensive as the others, they showed their sincerity. The next two tables were the elders of the Zhu family, the Song family, and Song Ryu's maternal grandfather's family. Zhu Weiguo drank the first glass of wine that Song Ryu toasted and said with a smile, "Toast to my uncle. How can one glass be enough? I'm happy today. I want to drink 3 glasses." As for Zhu Zhangshun, he was relatively calm. He drank a glass of wine and said a few words of blessing with a smile. Wu Yajun and Zhu Qingwen, the 2 women, were more talkative. The 2 children were the favorites of the 2 families. They were very happy to see the children of the 2 families get together. The other elders of the Song family and Song Ryu's maternal grandfather's relatives were relatively calm compared with the Zhu family's relatives. They just drank the wine with a smile, said a few words of blessing, and gave the gifts. Behind them were the brothers and sisters of the same generation. Those who were older than Qin Sheng and Song Ryu would take the initiative to toast to them. After drinking the wine, these cousins gave the red envelopes and did not forget to tease Qin Sheng and Song Ryu. They even asked Qin Sheng to drink more glasses of wine. After all, he had married such a beautiful wife. As for their peers who were younger than them, they were more polite. They raised their glasses and toasted Qin Sheng and Song Ryu one after another. Many of them even prepared gifts. Although the gifts were not as expensive as those of the elders, they were still their sincerity. The engagement party gradually came to an end. Song Ryu only drank a few glasses of wine, while Qin Sheng drank a lot. After all, he was very happy today. When the engagement party ended, it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu stood at the door and saw off the elders of each family. Zhao Anji had already prepared gifts for them. Although it was just an engagement party, the Qin family cared a lot about it, so the gifts they prepared were not stingy. Before the elders left, they talked to Song Ryu and Qin Sheng for a long time. Many of them were a little drunk, but what they said at this time was the most sincere. Some of the young people of the same generation were not satisfied. Some of them said that they would go to the Qin family later to continue drinking. Qin Sheng did not refuse them and asked them to come later. When everyone left, only the direct descendants of the Qin family were left. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu finally saw off Zhao Anji and Qin Ran. They also drank a lot and were a little drunk. Qin Sheng arranged for someone to send them back to have a rest. As for the rest of the business in the winery, Gong Sun and other people would be responsible for it. Standing at the door, Qin Sheng looked at Song Ryu and asked, "Are you tired?" Song Ryu smiled and shook her head. "No," Qin Sheng said with some emotion. "How can I not be tired? The engagement party is so tiring. What will happen when we get married in the future?" Song Ryu stared at Qin Sheng and said, "So you don't want to get married?" Qin Sheng laughed and said, "I don't dare to do that. At that time, these elders will probably fight with me." Song Ryu pouted and said, "That's more like it." The grand engagement banquet finally came to an end. For the Qin, Song, and Zhu families, this was a joyous occasion for the 2 families to tie the knot. However, for the outsiders who had been paying attention to this engagement banquet, this might be the turning point for the Qin family. Chapter 992. Reaching an agreement after everyone left. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu were not in a hurry to leave. Qin Sheng appreciated Song Ryu's way of dealing with people very much. A talented girl cultivated by a big family was indeed different. She asked Uncle Gongsun to prepare more gifts in advance for the main staff today. At the same time, she also prepared some red envelopes for other ordinary staff attending the engagement banquet today, such as some security personnel, waiters, kitchen staff, and so on. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu personally delivered the gifts to the main staff to thank them for their hard work and contribution today. Gongsun arranged other people to deliver the remaining red envelopes. It was already 6 o'clock in the evening when they finished all the work. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu went back to the Qin family's villa to rest. Song Ryu was not in a hurry to go back to the Song family. Today was only the engagement party. Song Ryu naturally felt embarrassed to stay in the Qin family's villa. If it was a wedding, there would be no need to say anything. In the Qin family's villa, when Qin Sheng and Song Ryu came back, Zhu Jiao and his peers were chatting and drinking in the living room. They seemed to be in good condition. Song Ruyu's peers had been familiar with each other today, so they were not unfamiliar with each other. Qin Jing and Xin Xin were in charge of greeting them, because Zhao Anji and Qin Ran had drunk too much and had gone to rest. As soon as Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu entered the door, Zhu Jiao dragged Qin Sheng over to continue drinking. Fortunately, Qin Jing hurriedly persuaded her brother and sister to take a shower and change their clothes before coming out to accompany the others. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu left with a smile. Song Ryu was directly taken into Qin Jing's room. Qin Jing had already prepared everything, which showed how meticulous this little girl was. After taking a shower and changing his clothes, Qin Sheng instantly felt much more comfortable. Although he was happy today, he was also very tired. With so many elders present at the same time, Qin Sheng had to take care of everyone's emotions and reply to their endless questions. How could he not be tired? When Qin Sheng and Song Ryu came out, they found that their cousins had all left. Only Qin Jing and Xin Xin were left in the living room. Qin Sheng frowned and asked, "Where are they?" Xin explained to Qin Sheng honestly, "Brother, they saw that you were too tired, so they said that we would gather another day. They will go back first today." This was the second time that Xin had called Qin Sheng brother. It seemed that her resentment towards Qin Sheng had lessened a lot. As for whether she had completely forgiven him, no one knew. After all, she was his sister. No matter how much she ignored him, it was impossible for her to ignore him for the rest of her life. It was just a matter of time. Qin Sheng deliberately looked at Qin Jing and said, "Yaya, did you chase them away?" "Big brother, why would you say that? Am I that kind of person?" Qin Jing pursed her lips to express her dissatisfaction. Then, she looked at Song Ryu and said, "Sister, please criticize my brother." Of course, Song Ryu was on Qin Jing's side. She immediately said, "Why would you do that?" Qin Sheng laughed happily as he said, "I'm just teasing you, silly girl." At this time, Gongsun came back with the congratulatory gifts sent by other families. Gongsun directly walked to Qin Sheng and reported, "Young master, these are the congratulatory gifts sent by them today. Which one do you think is suitable for me to put them?" Qin Sheng did not expect that there would be so many big and small boxes. There were as many as 20 to 30 gifts. It could be seen that many families had sent congratulatory gifts today. This was a good idea. At least, it would be beneficial for the Qin family in the future. Qin Jing was the first to run over and asked curiously, "Brother, who sent these gifts? There's so many gifts." Qin Sheng found it funny and said, "I don't know what they are. How about opening them and having a look?" Under Qin Sheng's order, Gongsun and the bodyguards immediately opened the gifts sent by the families. Actually, Gongsun had already seen all the gifts. Qin Jing also ran over with Xin and opened them together. Women liked to buy things and open express parcels. Facing these gift boxes, they could not suppress their curiosity. After a while, all the gift boxes on the scene were opened. Each gift box was marked with which family had sent it. Qin Sheng and Song Ryu looked at them together. In fact, there was nothing special. They were all ordinary gifts, such as diamond necklaces, jade bracelets, calligraphy, paintings, antiques, and various things used by women. However, they all looked expensive. It seemed that the families had paid a lot of money and attached great importance to this engagement banquet. The sixth uncle sent a pair of jade bracelets of good quality, crystal clear and beautiful. The He family sent a very expensive diamond necklace, which should be a custom-made one from a famous brand. Even the Zheng family sent gifts. It was estimated that they wanted to ease the relationship with the Qin family. However, they looked a little shabby, not as generous as the other families. Qin Sheng was not interested in these things, not to mention Song Ryu. Qin Jing and Xin looked at them with interest. Qin Sheng found it funny and said, "If you like them, you can take them away." "Brother, these are gifts from others. How can we take them away?" Qin Jing said embarrassedly. Qin Sheng said indifferently, "You are all my sisters. What you sent to us is also a gift to you. Moreover, these things will only collect dust if we keep them here. It is better to give them to you." Qin Jing was happy and said, "Brother, sister, then Xin and I will choose one each." Qin Sheng laughed and said, "All right." You can choose whatever you want. Qin Jing immediately pulled Xin to choose the gifts. However, Xin was not as casual as Qin Jing. After all, Qin Jing was a direct descendant of the Qin family. Her identity was relatively distant. Moreover, these were all expensive gifts. If she chose them, she would definitely be scolded by her parents tomorrow. Therefore, Xin was somewhat hesitant. Qin Sheng patted Xin's shoulder and said, "Choose whatever you want. Just take it as a gift from your brother. I will tell Uncle Lin and Annie Wang." Xin heard this and dared to choose the gifts. In the end, Qin Jing chose a very beautiful necklace, which was estimated to be worth a lot of money. She did not dare to choose the diamond necklace. Xin chose a relatively ordinary bracelet. Judging from the brand name, it should be Bulgari. For a girl like her, it was already a very expensive gift. As for how to deal with these gifts, Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu had already discussed with each other. Therefore, Gong Sun put the relatively valuable gifts into the safe, while Gong Sun was responsible for the safekeeping of the Qin family's gifts. The relatively large ones were put into the storeroom. The busy day was finally over. Qin Jing and Xin went back to their room to chat. The two girls had known each other for a long time and had been in contact with each other. In addition, they were of similar age and had a lot of common hobbies. So when Xin came yesterday, she slept with Qin Jing and they were like sisters. After saying goodbye to Uncle Lin and Annie Wang, Qin Sheng drove Song Ruyu home. Tonight was not their wedding night. Naturally, Qin Sheng did not dare to leave Song Ruyu at home. Moreover, their relationship had not reached that stage yet. On the way back to the city, Song Ruyu had been tightly leaning in Qin Sheng's arms. Today, she finally said what she had hidden in her heart for so many years. It could be regarded as an explanation to herself and an answer to everyone. In the future, it was estimated that no one would ask her why she chose Qin Sheng as her topic. At this moment, it was very quiet and warm in the car. Qin Sheng held Song Ruyu's hand and said, "Am I handsome when I was a child or now?" "When I was a child," Song Ruyu replied without hesitation with a smile. Qin Sheng said somewhat embarrassedly, "It seems that I have become disabled. Most boys who are good-looking when they are young become disabled when they grow up. On the contrary, girls become more and more beautiful. No wonder they say that girls change 18 times before they grow up. When you were a child, adults liked you the most because you had a sweet mouth and knew how to coax girls. Now I finally understand why they chose you," Song Ruyu said maliciously. Qin Sheng did not dare to continue this topic because Song Ruyu had used the word them. He hurriedly changed the topic. "Do you like me when I was a child or now?" "When I was a child," Song Ruyu still answered in the same way. Qin Sheng sighed with emotion and said, "The revolution has not succeeded yet. Comrade, you still need to work hard." When Qin Sheng sent Song Ruyu to her parents' house, Song Ruyu's parents were already waiting for him. In addition to Song Ruyu's parents, her aunt, cousins, and so on were also at home. Qin Sheng chatted with them for a while and went back after a short while. When Qin Sheng returned home, everyone else had already gone to sleep. His aunt and sister probably drank a lot and had not woken up yet. Gong Sun had already arranged for the nannies and servants to serve them, for fear that they would toss and turn at night. At the same time, he asked the kitchen to prepare a lot of food. After all, they had not eaten much today. Qin Sheng casually ate a bowl of wonton noodles and went back to his room to rest. Finally, it was time for him to be alone. Qin Sheng changed into his pajamas and sat on the balcony, staring in the direction of the West Mountain in a daze. The gentle breeze was very comfortable. As for love affairs, he was more and more confused about himself. He loved Lin Su deeply, but gradually fell in love with Song Ruyu. It seemed that it was difficult for him to let go of Lin Su. When he thought about his feelings for Su Qin, it seemed that it was also difficult for him to forget. Alas, there is really no good man. Qin Sheng could only sigh with emotion. It seemed that no one wanted to give up and wanted to have everything greedily. The most difficult thing to understand in the world was love. Just under this night sky, how many people loved but could not get it, or loved each other and wanted to kill each other? A few days after the engagement banquet, the team of the Qin family continued to be busy. They discussed the acquisition plan with the team of the sixth uncle at any time. Qin Sheng had communicated with his aunt and sister several times and often held meetings with Chang Sini, Hao Mingyi, and the others. The acquisition plan was gradually being perfected. After all, it was not a matter of a day or two. At other times, Qin Sheng accompanied Uncle Lin and Annie Wang to wander around Siju City. Of course, Xin and Qin Jing were also there. Song Ruyu took a day to accompany them, and the rest of the time was busy with work. After all, she had focused on the Qin family for a period of time and had a lot of backlog of work. When Uncle Lin and Annie Wang were sent away, the Qin family and the sixth uncle finally reached a compromise on the acquisition plan. The teams of both sides could be said to have done their best and haggled over many treaties. Even Qin Sheng and Zhao Anji had called the sixth uncle and Ziyuan many times to communicate. Fortunately, the final result was relatively smooth. The Qin family finally felt relieved. Chapter 993. Both the Qin family and Uncle Six would not let this deal go smoothly. After all, this was not an ordinary deal, but an acquisition plan with an astronomical figure. Therefore, they had to haggle over every ounce, and they could not let the outside world know about the acquisition. Therefore, both sides signed a strict confidentiality contract at the beginning of the negotiation. At the same time, both sides were rivals who shed all pretenses of cordiality, and each had a deeper intention of the other. If things went too smoothly, the other party would notice it, so they were so aggressive in the process of negotiation. However, the ultimate goal of both sides was the same, which was to complete the acquisition smoothly. Just like that, it was already the end of the month. In the blink of an eye, a leaf in autumn had passed. Winter had arrived unexpectedly in Beijing. After a few waves of cold air whizzed past from the north to the south, the temperature began to gradually drop. In another half a month, Beijing would be heating up, and the year was about to end. For Qin Sheng, this year was really full of ups and downs. It should be said that it was the most tortuous year of his life. After the acquisition plan was reached, the Qin family's team had to do their due diligence. The Qin family hired several accounting firms in Beijing to do their due diligence. After all, they wanted to know whether the companies transferred by Uncle Six were worth the money. After all, this acquisition contract was carried out in the form of cash and shares. Obviously, it was impossible for Uncle Six to take out so much cash in a short time, and it might cause even more turbulence. As long as the due diligence was completed, the acquisition plan could be carried out immediately, and it would not take long for the two parties to part ways. At this last moment, as the executive director of the Chang and Group, Qin Sheng naturally had to stand on the last post. After all, the Qin family was still the actual controller of the Chang and Group, so he had to ensure that the related companies of the Qin family would be completely separated from the Chang and Group. At the same time, he had to deal with the related issues of the Chang and Group in case those ambitious executives took the opportunity to fish in troubled waters. Anyway, Qin Sheng had nothing to worry about during this period. He could learn some experience from the Chang and school, which would help him reorganize the Qin family's industry in the future. Therefore, Qin Sheng went back to work in the Chang and school. Even Qin Ran and Qin Jing came back. People who didn't know the truth might think that the Qin family was going to reorganize the Chang and school. Only those who knew the truth knew the reason. When Qin Sheng was about to get off work, it began to drizzle outside the window. The sky was dark and cloudy, so the visibility was very low. Qin Sheng had invited Song Ruyu to have hot pot with her today because he had not seen her for several days. As Song Ruyu's fiancée, it was necessary for him to care for her. At this time, Qin Sheng's assistant, Wu Han, knocked on the door and said, "Chairman Qin, these are the 2 sets of skincare products you asked me to buy. I'll leave them here for you." After Wu Han finished her words, she was about to leave. However, Qin Sheng asked her to wait for a while. He smiled and asked, "Wu Han, how do you like the winter in Beijing? Is it much colder than the winter in Shanghai?" Wu Han said honestly, "Chairman Qin, you have also stayed in Shanghai. Don't you remember that Shanghai is a magic attack, while Beijing is a physical attack? In addition, the winter in Beijing is too dry. I still can't get used to it. She and Qin Sheng did not seem to be superior and subordinate. They were more like friends. Qin Sheng said, half-jokingly, "How can you lack skincare products in such dry weather? So I only need to leave one set of skincare products and give the other one to you. Don't let others say that I mistreat my subordinates." It turned out to be like this. Wuhan was amused by Qin Sheng's action. She said somewhat helplessly, "Chairman Qin, if you want to give me something next time, please be straightforward. I thought I made a mistake. Anyway, thank you." Wuhan picked up the cosmetics and circled them in front of Qin Sheng twice. After that, she left Qin Sheng's office. After all, she had bought such expensive skincare product from SKP. How could she refuse them? Qin Sheng looked at the time and realized that it was almost time to get off work. It would be rush hour soon. When he arrived at Song Ryu's office, she would get off work. So Qin Sheng set out for Song Ryu's office. Although it was not the time to get off work, the traffic flow in Beijing was still very heavy. In addition, the visibility was very low. Therefore, the traffic jam began to stop after a short while. Song Ryu's workplace was number 2 courtyard on North Beach Street. Fortunately, the headquarters of the Chong and department was not far from there. Otherwise, Qin Sheng estimated that he would not be able to get there by the time Song Ryu got off work. Qin Sheng felt sorry for Song Ryu waiting for him outside in such weather. When he arrived at the west gate of number 2 courtyard on North Beach Street, it was the time to get off work. After all, this was not an ordinary place. Qin Sheng did not have the ability to drive indirectly. He asked Chang Baji and the others to park their cars on the roadside, not far away. He walked over with an umbrella and waited at the gate. After a while, Song Ryu came out. Qin Sheng had called her in advance and said that he would wait for her at the gate. 2 colleagues came out with her. Song Ryu saw Qin Sheng from afar. She greeted the 2 colleagues and was ready to come over. However, it seemed that the 2 colleagues did not let Song Ryu leave so easily. They chatted with Song Ryu for a while and let her come over. Song Ryu came over and asked, "How long have you been waiting?" Qin Sheng said casually, "I just arrived. Are you cold?" Song Ryu stamped her feet and said, "A little bit." As soon as she finished speaking, Qin Sheng pulled her into his arms. Qin Sheng still had this little bit of eyesight. After all, he was not an iron-willed man. Song Ryu was a little embarrassed and said, "I'm at the gate. It's not good to be seen at the same time." Qin Sheng did not care about this, but he thought that Song Ryu must have a good image in her workplace. He guessed that there must be many pursuers in her workplace. After all, this was a place where elites gathered. It was possible that some young talent would rise to the top in the future. Qin Sheng put his arm around Song Ryu's shoulder and walked to the parking place. He asked casually, "What were you talking about with your colleagues just now?" They were so happy. "Nothing. They just knew that I was engaged and asked me if you were the one who would pick me up. I smiled and said yes. Then they joked with me. The leader of my unit even asked you to treat us to a meal another day," Song Ryu said honestly. Qin Sheng said generously, "It's just a treat. You can choose whatever you want. By the way, will your teacher come?" "In your dreams. Even if he came, would you dare to treat him?" Song Ryu said angrily. She was not surprised that Qin Sheng knew who her teacher was. Many people in Suzhou City knew this news. Of course, Qin Sheng was joking. He was not qualified to treat Song Ryu's teacher to dinner. Even the old master would not be able to treat Song Ryu's teacher. After all, he was a busy man and did not have the spare time. The place for dinner was near Song Ryu's home. In this way, Song Ryu could go home directly after dinner. Qin Sheng knew that Song Ryu was busy these days, so he did not dare to disturb her. Moreover, Qin Sheng had a lot of social activities recently. He was a little tired of dealing with all kinds of situations, but he had to deal with them. Even Su Xingwei, a playboy who was not on good terms with Qin Sheng, took the initiative to treat Qin Sheng to a drink, let alone other playboys who had a little relationship with Qin Sheng. After dinner, Qin Sheng drove Song Ryu home and took the skincare products he bought for her. Song Ryu had been used to all kinds of gifts from Qin Sheng and other members of the Qin family. She had received more gifts recently than she had received in the past few years. Before leaving, Qin Sheng asked with a smile, Song Hushing still hasn't contacted you? No. He just sent me a WeChat message 2 days ago, saying that the weather is getting cold and asking me to take care of myself, Song Ruyu said calmly. Then she thought of something and continued. He seems to have applied for a transfer. I heard it from my grandfather, Qin Sheng said subconsciously, out of sight, out of mind. Qin Sheng knew that the relationship between him and Song Hushing would not be eased in a short time. Originally, they had been at loggerheads. Later, because Song Ruyu stood on his side, Song Hushing was even angrier. Otherwise, why would he join hands with Chun Tai and Su Xingwei to mess with him? In the end, Song Ruyu was angry and he was thrown into the swimming pool by Qin Sheng. The grudge between them was completely formed. Well, no one can change his decision. Anyway, it doesn't matter if he goes to a place to practice, Song Ruyu said calmly. Qin Sheng thought for a moment and said, after a while, I will take the initiative to apologize to him. Even if he scolds me or beats me, I will bear it. Let's talk about it later. Song Ruyu shook her head and said, this topic was over. Qin Sheng did not want to disturb Song Ruyu and left after a short while. After all, he had something to do in the evening. Sister Ponytail joined the party tonight. She was drinking at a friend's club. At the same time, she took the initiative to invite Qin Sheng. Sister Ponytail had helped Qin Sheng before. How could Qin Sheng refuse? When Qin Sheng arrived at this small club, he found that most of the people present were his sister's friends. But his sister didn't come or tell him. Why? Qin Sheng smiled and greeted them. They hadn't seen each other for a long time, but they had helped his sister a lot. Helping his sister was naturally helping the Qin family. How could Qin Sheng not be polite? Ma Weiyong patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and explained with a smile, don't overthink it. I've called your sister. She said she had something to do tonight, so she didn't come. I miss you, so I called you over for a drink. Qin Sheng really admired Sister Ponytail. She already had a husband and child, but she was still so playful. He didn't know whether her husband cared about her or not. He guessed that her husband's family was not as powerful as Sister Ponytail's family. Otherwise, how could Sister Ponytail be so arrogant? Ma Weiyong said angrily, you brat, why didn't you invite your Sister Ponytail to your engagement? Are you looking down on me or afraid that I can't afford a gift? Qin Sheng felt a headache and said, I don't care about these things. You have to ask my sister. Look at you, you little brat. You even know how to shift the blame to someone else. I'm just joking with you. How would I dare to go find your sister? I know they're both your direct relatives, but when it comes to your wedding, I'll definitely be there. Even if you don't invite me, I'll still go and join in the fun, said Ma Weiyong happily. Qin Sheng agreed readily and quickly raised his glass to Sister Ponytail. The others were also amused by Ma Weiyong. After drinking, Ma Weiyong suddenly whispered in Qin Sheng's ear, brother, recently there are many people asking about you. You're now a popular person in Suzhou City. Qin Sheng was a little surprised. He frowned and asked, who? Chapter 994. Since Qin Sheng's engagement party ended, he felt that a lot of things had changed. Although the crisis of the Qin family had not ended and Qin Chang'an's situation was not clear, everyone's attitude toward the Qin family and Qin Chang'an had changed. This might be the added value of the engagement party. Moreover, even the Qin family's biggest enemy, sixth uncle, had entered a short honeymoon period with the Qin family. The outside world did not know that the Qin family and sixth uncle had reached a secret agreement. They thought that was why sixth uncle dared not offend the Qin family. Now, everyone thought that the crisis of the Qin family was about to end. It was only a matter of time before Qin Chang'an was released from prison. After Qin Chang'an was released from prison, the Qin family would still be in charge of the business empire of the Chang and system, and Qin Sheng would be the future successor of the Chang and system. Most importantly, he had the support of the Zhu family and the Song family. After all, everyone saw who attended the engagement party that day, which was not something that Qin Chang'an could compare with. Therefore, when Qin Sheng took charge of the Qin family and the Chang and system, The Chang and system and the Qin family would rise to a higher level. If they did not make friends with such a person now, they might not have a chance in the future. After understanding this, it was not surprising that Ma Weiyang had mentioned that many people had been inquiring about Qin Sheng, the popular man in Siju City. It was estimated that there were many rich playboys from the political and business circles among them. It was estimated that there were also many young business leaders. Even when Qin Sheng came to drink with Ma Weiyang, the people around Ma Weiyang took the initiative to give up the middle seat, which showed that Qin Sheng's status had soared in everyone's hearts. Who are they? There are too many people, many of whom have powerful backgrounds. It seems that they all want to get to know you. Therefore, I want to ask you if you have time. I will arrange a party for you. These are all my friends. You have to give me face, Ma Weiyang said. Qin Sheng found it funny and said, Know me? Why should I know you? Qin Sheng, you have been back in Beijing for a short time. Whether it is for the Qin family or the Chang and system, you have to integrate into this big circle in the future. Therefore, you must get to know enough people. These are all advantages, because you don't know which friend will rise to the top in the future, right? Ma Weiyang did not explain anything further. Zhang De, who was sitting not far away, took the initiative to explain to Qin Sheng. As the deputy general manager of a company under a central enterprise, he knew this better than anyone else. This was because if one wanted to go further in the position of a central enterprise, it was a competition of who had the widest connections. Qin Sheng replied calmly, Thank you, Brother De. I think I understand. Qin Sheng, we know your character. It is difficult for you to do these things, but you don't need us or your sister. We have known each other since childhood. This is natural. Now that you have just returned to Beijing, you have to make up for it. Unless you don't want to stay in the Qin family, you'll have to face these things in the future. I didn't tell you this before because you were always in Shanghai. Later, when you came back to Beijing, you were busy with family affairs. Now it is time to tell you. As your sister and brother, since we are your sister's friends, we will definitely not hurt you. We will only push the boat with the current to help you, Fan Deji continued. Thank you, Brother Fan. I understand what you are saying. I will do as you say. Qin Sheng raised his glass and toasted Fan Deji, and Zhang De Ma Weiyang said happily, That's more like it. Qin Sheng, this is a good opportunity for you to get to know more friends. In the future, it will be easier for you to do things in Siju City. I heard that even Su Xingwei has reconciled with you. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with it. You can go further if you know more friends. Our fathers were like this. Okay, Sister Ponytail, you have the final say. Call me when the time comes. Qin Sheng laughed. Ma Weiyang raised her glass and said, Okay, let's not talk about this. Come on, let's drink. I haven't drunk with Qin Sheng for a long time. You're all defeated by Qin Sheng. Tonight, you have to win back some face, right? Qin Sheng, this is the engagement party. Let's not talk about it. When you get married, you have to treat us to your wedding wine, Fan Deji said with a smile. It was not easy for Director Fan to come out today. Qin Sheng said firmly, Of course. There was drinking. Qin Sheng drank a few bottles of red wine with these brothers and sisters. During this period, they continued to give Qin Sheng lessons, which made Qin Sheng not know whether he should laugh or cry. But what they said was the truth. Of course, Qin Sheng had to listen to them. After all, in this circle, some things had to be done involuntarily. When Qin Sheng returned to the Qin family's villa, it was already very late. Song Ruyu called Qin Sheng before going to bed and asked if he had gone home. Qin Sheng did not dare to lie to this sensitive fiancée, so he told her that his brothers and sisters wanted to chat and drink with him. They would go home after they finished their work. Song Ryu did not say much, but asked Qin Sheng to send her a WeChat message when he got home. Because of this phone call, Qin Sheng was laughed at by Ma Weiyang and others. They said that they had started to check on him when they were just engaged. What would happen in the future? When Qin Sheng came back, his sister was still awake. Seeing Qin Sheng coming in, she said, There is some soup in the kitchen. Do you want some? Qin Sheng smiled and nodded. Ma Weiyang stood up slowly and said, Then I will go and get it for you. While Qin Sheng was drinking the soup, she asked casually, Did Ma Weiyang and others give you lessons today? Sister, how do you know? Qin Sheng asked curiously. Qin Ran answered honestly. Ma Weiyang said that it is not appropriate for me to say these things. It is more appropriate for outsiders to say them. Anyway, it is for your own good. You can take advantage of this opportunity to make many friends. They're all for my own good. I know, Qin Sheng said calmly. Qin Ran smiled gently and said, "It is nothing. If you want to do it, just do it. It is okay if you do not want to do it now. There will be opportunities in the future. As long as the Qin family is still there, and as long as the Zhu family is still there, we do not need to do these things." Qin Ran's words were very straightforward, almost telling Qin Sheng everything. Anyway, everything she did was for Qin Sheng's good. She really loved Qin Sheng from the bottom of her heart. After drinking the soup, Qin Sheng massaged his sister's shoulders and said, "Sister, I am not so pretentious. Don't worry about me." Qin Ran smiled and closed her eyes, enjoying the warm moment of being served by her brother. Ma Weiyang's meeting had not started yet, but Qin Sheng had to continue his social activities. It was a meeting that could not be avoided. This time, it was organized by Su Xingwei. Those who could attend were all shareholders of Chang and Group. Of course, not those elders but the younger generation. Qin Sheng was the major shareholder of Chang and Group, the future successor of the Qin family, and the current executive director of Chang and Group. How could he not attend? Su Xingwei took the initiative to call Qin Sheng, saying that this meeting should have been organized after Qin Sheng returned to the Qin family. They were all shareholders of Chang and Group, so they should be familiar with each other. However, Qin Sheng had been on the internet all the time. After returning to Beijing, he was busy with the affairs of the Qin family, so it was delayed until now. Although the Qin family was no longer a shareholder of Chang and Group, they were all in Beijing, so they could still get together more often. Su Xingwei could say this so shamelessly. What else could Qin Sheng say? Speaking of shamelessness, Qin Sheng really admired the first young master of the Su family. If he had a strong character, he might have directly scolded the first young master of the Su family. "Don't you know what I'm doing?" Later, Qin Sheng received a call from Yang Yi, saying that Su Xingwei called him and asked if Qin Sheng would go. If Qin Sheng went, he would go. If Qin Sheng did not go, he definitely would not go. Qin Sheng said he would go, and Yang Yi agreed. This was a cigar and wine shop opened by Su Xingwei's friend on the top floor of a building in Wangjing. When Qin Sheng arrived, Su Xingwei and the others were already there. They were drinking wine and eating cigars inside. The smoke in the private room was like watching a Saturn Peach festival. However, sitting in the private room on the top floor, the scenery was really good. Wangjing was now the most prosperous place in the east of Beijing. These buildings had already formed the eastern skyline. When Qin Sheng came in, Su Xingwei took the initiative to stand up and greet him. He put his arm around Qin Sheng's shoulder and walked in. Qin Sheng said politely, "Sorry to keep you waiting for so long." "Ha ha, don't be so polite. We just arrived," Su Xingwei said happily, totally like the host. Normally, this was a gathering of the Chang and Group shareholders. The Qin family was currently the largest shareholder of the Chang and Group and the actual controller of the Chang and Group. Qin Sheng should have led the situation, but unexpectedly, Su Xingwei took the lead. But thinking about it, after all, the Qin family had already sold the shares of the Chang and Group. Sixth uncle's Su family. This interest group would be controlled by the Chang and Group in the future. It was understandable that Su Xingwei was the host. After Su Xingwei came in with his arm around Qin Sheng's shoulder, he smiled and walked to the front of the crowd. He said, "Yang Yi, you know each other, so I won't introduce you. You should introduce these people. This is sixth uncle's nephew. You haven't met him before, right? Let's have a good chat today. He used to be your father's assistant for a period of time." Qin Sheng took the initiative to shake hands and greet. This mature man in a knitted sweater said politely, "I should have taken the initiative to ask you out, but I've been busy these days, and you've been busy too. Xingwei is giving us an opportunity. Let's have a few drinks today." After that, Su Xingwei introduced Ziyuan's nephew and the sons of the other two shareholders. They were the immediate relatives of all the current major shareholders of the Chang and Group. In the future, They might also be in charge of their families. At that time, they would be the real shareholders of the Chang group. Everyone represented different interest groups. They used to be a community of interests, but now things were different. After they got to know each other, Qin Sheng sat next to Yang Yi. Yang Yi smiled and poured a glass of wine for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng also lit a cigar naturally. After all, he was no stranger to cigars. At this time, sixth uncle's nephew said happily, "Xingwei, how can we not have beautiful women when we have good wine and cigars? Otherwise, how lonely will we be?" Su Xingwei laughed out loud and said, "Ha ha ha ha, don't worry. I've been prepared for a long time." Then he clapped his hands. The door of the box was immediately pushed open from the outside. In an instant, several beautiful women with outstanding temperament walked out. It could be seen that this should be one of Su Xingwei's strongholds. Qin Sheng and Yang Yi looked at each other. The life of the rich was really good. Chapter 995. Qin Sheng thought about it carefully and realized that Su Xingwei was declaring his sovereignty to him and others, which meant that the Chang group would have nothing to do with the Qin family in the future. Even though Qin Sheng was engaged to Song Ruyu, as long as the Qin family was still a shareholder of the Chang and group, they had to obey them. So don't take Qin Sheng seriously. Even if Qin Sheng knew or guessed it, there was nothing he could do to stop it. Anyway, the Chang and family and the Qin family would have nothing to do with each other in the future. They could do whatever they wanted. Although they dare not say that they would stay away from each other forever, they would try their best not to. After all, everyone knew what had happened before, and they would not forget it just because they had entered the honeymoon period recently. Therefore, when these beautiful women came in, Qin Sheng shook his head directly and said, "I don't need it. You can play by yourselves." "What? You're not married yet. Why are you being henpecked?" Su Xingwei said half-jokingly. Qin Sheng said honestly, "I just got engaged. I can't be too presumptuous. If the elders know it, I will not be able to explain it to them." "Ha ha ha. Qin Sheng, don't worry. We're all on the same side. You don't have to worry about anything, such as being photographed and spread it." The nephew of the sixth uncle said disapprovingly, thinking that Qin Sheng was worried about them. Needless to say, Qin Sheng was really a little worried. After all, these guys were not his friends whom he knew well, and they were not kind people. Who knew if there were surveillance cameras here or not? If they really spread the news that the first young master of the Qin family was flirting outside just after getting engaged, the news would be explosive. It would not only slap the Song family's face, but also the Zhu family and the Qin family's faces. Qin Sheng would not be able to explain himself. Qin Sheng insisted, "No need. I will drink and chat with you." Since Qin Sheng insisted, the others did not say anything. They could see that Qin Sheng did not trust them. It was useless for them to say more, in case they continued to be embarrassed. Yang Yi did not care. He was just playing. He had long been used to this kind of occasion. Even if his wife knew it, it would be fine. His wife did not care about him in this aspect, as long as he did not take it seriously. After this episode, the atmosphere became more lively. They drank, chatted, and laughed. How could they not be happy with beautiful women in their arms? The few people who were not familiar with each other in the past were slowly getting to know each other, and there would be more opportunities for them to meet in the future. Qin Sheng left at 11 o'clock, which meant that he still had a meeting to attend. As the executive director, he couldn't be absent. What Qin Sheng said was a slap in the face. Of course, it was a slap in the face of Su Xingwei and the others. What Qin Sheng meant was that no matter what, the Qin family still had the final say in the Chang and group. After Qin Sheng left, the others also left. No one was interested. After all, it was already a little late. In the end, only Su Xingwei and the nephew of sixth uncle were left. Sixth uncle's nephew snorted as he said, "Isn't he just a man who lives off a woman? What was there to be proud of? Do you really think that the Qin family is still the Qin family of the past? You're really shameless." Su Xingwei snorted and said, "Brother Han, why are you angry with him? Let him be arrogant for a while. When we successfully control the Chang and system, he will cry. You just wait and see." He and Qin Sheng had been enemies for a long time, and it was impossible for them to reconcile. Brother Han asked with interest, "Xingwei, do you know something?" Su Xingwei laughed and said, "Brother Han, don't worry about it. Just wait and see." After all, this was not a good place to talk. There were two beautiful women beside him. If they really leaked the news, sixth uncle would not have to do anything. Su Xingwei would have to break his own legs. After all, the cooperation between the two sides had reached a substantial stage. They could not make any mistakes. After the smooth handover, they could have no scruples at that time. Before they knew it, it was already the middle of November. Beijing had officially entered winter. Winter in the north was always so cold. When the cold wind whistled past, people would shiver. No one could shake the power of nature. Therefore, in this weather, people were more thickly dressed than others. The beautiful women were all wrapped in down jackets, and there was no chance for them to feast their eyes on the beautiful women. The Qin family's due diligence had been completed. Although there were many mistakes, the two sides had solved the problems after discussion. Today, the two teams officially began to carry out the acquisition plan. They estimated that the acquisition could be completed before the new year. At that time, the Qin family would completely withdraw from the Chong and system and have nothing to do with it. They were more or less reluctant to do so. After all, the Qin family had been marked by the Chong and system these years. During this period, Qin Sheng and Qin Ran went to see the old man again. Qin Sheng reported the plan of selling the Chong and school to the old man. After listening to him, Qin Chang'an was silent for a while and said with a smile, "As I said, there is nothing we can't give up. Even if we keep the Chong and school, the Qin family can't control it. Tall trees attract the wind." Even so, Qin Sheng could still see the nostalgia in the old man's eyes. After all, the Chong and system was a business empire built by the old man himself. How could he not be sad if he withdrew from it? Qin Ran told the old man about Qin Sheng's engagement with Song Ruyu. Naturally, she told him about the grand occasion on the day of the engagement. The main elders of the several families were all present, including Grandpa Song and Grandma Song. After hearing Qin Ran's story, Qin Chang'an could imagine the lively scene on the engagement day. With his sister-in-law, Zhao Anji, taking care of these things, Qin Chang'an felt more at ease. Moreover, the Zhu family was watching over it. Qin Chang'an did not participate in the marriage between the Qin and the Song family, because he had guessed that the Zhu family would be the one to push this matter forward. Otherwise, the Zhu family would not have appeared in such a high profile this time. To put it bluntly, the Zhu family cared about Qin Sheng and Qin Ran, so they did this for them. Without Qin Sheng and Qin Ran, the Zhu family would probably not care about the Qin family. Qin Chang'an smiled and wished Qin Sheng well. He also said that as a father, it was really regretful that he could not attend their engagement party. He asked Qin Sheng to apologize to Song Ruyu and hoped that he could be there when they got married. In the end, Qin Chang'an said that he would go to the Hope Bureau. In fact, he also knew that the Hope Bureau was busy and uncertain because his case had not been pushed forward until now, and there seemed to be no news during this period, which made him very curious. Qin Chang'an was very clear that it was impossible to get through this crisis unscathed. This was because Qin Chang'an already knew very clearly that he had made a fatal mistake. No one could save him from this mistake. Therefore, Qin Chang'an knew that he might still have many years to go to prison. As for how many years, he did not know. Perhaps the situation was more serious. Perhaps, with everyone's efforts, the outcome would be better. In the end, Qin Chang'an also said that if Qin Sheng's grandfather and mother were here, it would be great. A family reunion would be the real happiness. Qin Sheng did not say anything, because he knew that this was a lifelong regret. It was completely winter in the north, and the temperature in the south was gradually dropping. Although it was not as cold as the north, where all the people in the south were wearing down jackets, the passion of summer was no longer there. Everyone put on sweaters to resist the cold. After a period of time, they also had to wear down jackets. Some time ago, the headquarters of the Lin family in Ningbo had officially moved from Ningbo to Shanghai, and they even held a grand moving ceremony. Zhu Qingwen did not break his promise to Lin Su and the Lin family. Many leaders of the Lin family group attended the moving ceremony, including an executive deputy mayor, not to mention other leaders in charge, and many tycoons of the Zhejiang Chamber of Commerce and the Ningbo Chamber of Commerce. This time, the Lin family was in the limelight. However, all these seemed to have nothing to do with Lin Su. What did it have to do with her? What Lin Su wanted was not these, and no one could give her what she wanted. Lin Su's belly was already bulging, but because it happened to be winter, she wore thick clothes, so no one could see it. But after 2 months, it would be impossible to hide it. Lin Chongting and Lin Chonghe seemed to know about it, but this news did not spread in the Lin family. Others still thought that Qin Sheng and Lin Su were together, so they were still very polite to Lin Su. After all, Lin Su was the real major shareholder of the Lin family now. Who dared to offend Lin Su? Perhaps it was because of this matter that Lin Chongting's attitude towards his daughter changed, which was rare. He was no longer as distant as before, and he even took the initiative to call Lin Su several times. This made Lin Su feel a little touched, but it was just a touch. After all, the relationship between father and daughter had been like that for so many years. How could it be eased in such a short time? Grandma was hospitalized again, so Lin Su had to return to Ningbo from Shanghai. This time, Xue Qingyan accompanied Lin Su. Since Lin Su was pregnant, Xue Qingyan had been taking care of Lin Su carefully, and even asked Lin Su to move in with her. She had already taken care of Lin Su as her own sister, and Xue Qingyan really had nothing to say in this regard. This was the best private hospital in Ningbo, and the Lin family had shares in it, so the old lady's treatment here was obvious. In the ICU, when Lin Su was chatting with her grandma asked again, Su, why didn't Qin Sheng come to see me after such a long time? She didn't know how to explain to her grandma. She didn't want to tell her grandma the truth, because she was afraid that her grandma couldn't bear the blow. Since she was a child, her grandma had cared about her more than anyone else. So Lin Su had to continue hiding it. Grandma, Qin Sheng is too busy. He hasn't been back to Shanghai for a long time. The Qin family's affairs are complicated, and his father hasn't come out yet. When the Qin family's affairs are finished, he will come back to Ningbo to see you. The old lady didn't think much about it, because she also knew the situation of the Qin family. Such a big family had such a big thing, and Qin Sheng had to be busy with many things. So she had to sigh and say, Alas, what a poor child. You are all poor children. You should tell Qin Sheng to take care of himself no matter how busy he is. You should also care about Qin Sheng more. Do you understand? Grandma, I got it. Don't worry about him. Lin Su continued to comfort her grandma. However, no one knew the bitterness in her heart. She also wanted to care about Qin Sheng, but was she qualified to do so? Would she still have a chance? Xue Qingyan, who was beside the bed, couldn't bear to see Lin Su like this. She could only accompany Lin Su to comfort the old lady. As long as the old lady didn't let her imagination run wild, Lin Su would not be affected. After the old lady went to bed, Lin Su and Xue Qingyan walked out of the ward. However, in the lounge outside, Lin Su saw her baby sister, Lin Yu. Lin Yu walked up to Lin Su with a serious face and said, Sister, I know everything. Lin Su was stunned by Lin Yu's simple words. She didn't know what to say because she knew that she couldn't hide it from Lin Su. Chapter 996. Lin Su was the only one who knew how heavy the blow was. So far, she had been bearing everything in silence and did not tell anyone in the Lin family. She did not want them to worry about her, nor did she want to be the focus of everyone. She did not want to be pitied or comforted, and she did not want to be ridiculed, because people were unpredictable. She just wanted to be alone and be quiet. If Xue Qingyan hadn't heard the news from her friend in Beijing, she wouldn't have let Xue Qingyan know, let alone the Lin family. However, some things could not be hidden because of the background of Qin Sheng and the Qin family. The Qin family was the focus of attention, so every move of the Qin family would be known by everyone. Moreover, the Qin family was in the big circle of Siju City. How could no one know about it? Moreover, Song Ryu's family background was also powerful. Besides, Song Ryu herself was the focus of attention. Such a marriage could be regarded as a powerful combination, which had already become the topic of most people's leisure time. It would not take long for the news to spread from Suzhou City to Shanghai and many other places. Therefore, Lin Zhe was the first one to know about it. Lin Zhe had a lot of scoundrel friends, and there were also many rich playboys from Beijing who came to Shanghai to hang around. Naturally, he brought the news with him. In the end, Lin Zhe ran to Lin Su and questioned her. He was worried about Lin Su and the Lin family, because he knew that the Lin family's current situation was closely related to the Qin family. If Qin Sheng and Lin Su broke up, what would the Lin family do in the future? Although Lin Zhe did not say it out loud, he knew it very well. After all, he was no longer the Lin Zhe of the past. Now, he hoped that his sister would be fine. Hence, Lin Zhe cared for her a lot. However, he never mentioned it again, nor did he tell anyone else. However, other people in the Lin family did not know about it. If they knew the news, the first thing they would worry about would be the development of the Lin family without the Qin family. At the same time, they might laugh at Lin Su behind her back. Without Qin Sheng's support, how would Lin Su live in the Qin family? However, Lin Yu, who already knew the news, was not one of them. Lin Yu might be the purest person in the Lin family. After knowing the news, she only worried about her sister and had no other thoughts. In a garden outside the hospital, Xue Qingyan was afraid that the old lady would know about it, so she took the initiative to drag Lin Su and Lin Yu out. Besides, she was also afraid that Lin Su would break down and be found out by the old lady. She was more worried about Lin Su than anyone else. "Sister, I got it," Lin Yu said again after she sat down. Lin Su shook her head and smiled bitterly. "So be it. Anyway, I didn't intend to hide it from you." "Sister, why is he treating you like this? Why is he treating you like this? How much have you sacrificed for him? How can he feel at ease when he treats you like this?" "No, I have to go to Beijing to find him. I want him to give me an explanation in person," Lin Yu said angrily. Since her childhood, apart from her parents, her sister had been the one who had treated her the best. Now that her sister had been humiliated so badly in Shanghai, how could Lin Yu tolerate it? Lin Su did not say anything. She knew that these people would do this after knowing this news. Lin Zhe was like this, and Lin Yu was also trying to cover it up. However, Lin Su knew that they were doing this for her own good. It was just that she did not want to see this happen. "Lin Yu, it's normal to break up in love. Do you want to commit suicide after breaking up?" Lin Su said, but Lin Yu insisted. Lin Yu said, "Sister, others can do it, but not him. He can't treat you like this." "Lin Yu, he didn't break up with me. I took the initiative to break up with him because I know that I can't help him, but others can. I don't want to see him in such a difficult situation. You're still young and you don't understand some things. You will understand them in the future." Lin Su could only comfort Lin Yu in this way. Upon hearing Lin Yu's words, Lin Yu said doubtfully, "Sister, is it really like this? Why did you do this? Why didn't he ask you to stay? Or did he not want to ask you to stay?" At this time, Xue Qingyan took the initiative to say, "Lin Yu, tell me first. How did you know this? Did other people in the Lin family tell you?" Xue Qingyan was worried that if everyone in the Lin family knew this, Lin Su's situation would be somewhat worrisome. She could not let Lin Su stay in Shanghai anymore. She had to send Lin Su to the United States or other places as soon as possible. In this way, she could rest assured and not affect the fetus. Lin Yu replied truthfully, "No, I felt that there was something wrong with my sister these days. I asked her about brother-in-law several times, but she always found excuses to brush me off. Recently, brother-in-law did not come back with her. No matter how busy brother-in-law was, he would definitely make time to come to Shanghai to see her, or she would go to Beijing to see brother-in-law. However, he did not come back. I felt that something was wrong. I thought something happened to brother-in-law, so I inquired about brother-in-law. Then I learned the news of brother-in-law's engagement. I went to ask my father, but my father told me not to worry about it. I was so angry that I came to see my sister." Xue Qingyan had already guessed that Lin Changhe and Lin Changding might have known about it long ago. As for why they did not ask Lin Su, It was because of the difference between an elder and a junior. Firstly, love affairs were between a man and a woman, and no one could explain it clearly. Secondly, as an elder, if they asked too much about it, it would only make the public think that the Lin family did not want to let go of the Qin family. The elders of the Lin family could not afford to lose face, so they finally kept silent, which was also for Lin Su's sake. Shui Qingyan reminded Lin Yu, "That's good. Since you already know, just keep it to yourself. Don't tell anyone, especially Grandma." Lin Yu nodded obediently and said, "Sister Qingyan, I know." Shui Qingyan continued, "What's done is done. Don't ask anymore. Your sister is in a bad mood. If you really want to help her, then don't ask anymore." Lin Yu frowned slightly. Seeing her sister's unhappy face, she finally nodded and said, "I see. I won't ask anymore." Shui Qingyan thought for a while and said, "There's one more thing. I want to ask for your opinion." Lin Yu asked curiously, "Sister Qingyan, what's up?" "Your sister is in a bad mood, and she doesn't want to be disturbed by others. She wants to let go of this relationship. She's going to the United States to study. Are you willing to go with her?" Shui Qingyan asked. She had been worried about Lin Su's life in the United States. If no one took care of her and her family was gone, she would be so lonely and helpless. Even if she wanted to take care of Lin Su, she could not stay by her side. After all, she had too many things to deal with at home. She could only go to the United States to see Lin Su occasionally. Lin Yu was surprised and said, "Ah, sister, are you going abroad?" "It's a secret for now. Don't tell anyone. Are you willing to go?" Shui Qingyan asked. Lin Yu hesitated for a few seconds and nodded heavily. "For my sister, I'm willing to do anything. When you decide the time, I'll prepare the visa. You don't have to worry about the visa. I'll make the business visa for you. At that time, you just need to go with me. Don't worry about anything else." Shui Qingyan arranged directly. She had many friends in the United States. Whether Lin Su went to New York, Los Angeles, or San Francisco, she could make arrangements for Lin Su. Anyway, there were a lot of unoccupied houses bought by a bunch of friends. She could just find one. Besides, even if she did not have this ability, Qin Sheng would not leave Lin Su alone. After all, Lin Su was pregnant with his child. With the Qin family's resources in the United States, these things were very easy. After Lin Yu left, Shui Qingyan looked at Lin Su and had to say, Su, you have to plan ahead for going to the United States. You have to leave around New Year's Day. Otherwise, the whole Lin family will know. Moreover, you can't hide your belly at that time. No matter for Qin Sheng or yourself, you have to make a decision." Lin Su was very reluctant to leave the country. She was reluctant to leave her family and Qin Sheng. She knew what life abroad was like. After all, she used to study in the UK. But now she had no choice but to do this. Lin Su said helplessly, "Sister, I'll listen to you." Shui Qingyan felt very sorry for Lin Su. She had to hold Lin Su tightly. This was all because of Qin Sheng. Maybe Lin Su owed him in her previous life. As for the grand occasion of the engagement banquet, Shui Qingyan had already known it from her friends. But she did not tell Lin Su. Maybe Lin Su did not care about these things. Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu, the golden boy and jade girl envied by everyone in Sijio City, got together. But who cared about Lin Su? She just hoped that Qin Sheng would not forget his promise. In Beijing, tomorrow would be the class reunion of the Tsinghua University's seminar that Qin Sheng had studied in last year. Today, Qin Sheng took time to pick up Han Su and Wei Li from Tianjin and Hangzhou at the high-speed railway station. Qin Sheng had not seen them for some time. They were birds of a feather. When they were in the seminar, they hung out together and became very clever. As for Wei Li, he walked slowly to the end. At least, Wei Li had cleaned up for him a lot when he was in Hangzhou. Although Wei Li had a strong purpose when making friends, the world of adults was like this. Unless you were strong enough, you would not care about the identity of your friends. Tianjin and Hangzhou were both at the Beijing South Railway Station. Qin Sheng was a little puzzled. It was understandable that Wei Li took the high-speed railway from Hangzhou. But Han Su, the B***starred, was in Tianjin. He could have directly driven here. Why did he take the high-speed railway? Could it be that the Han family had gone bankrupt? Who knew what this B***starred was up to? Anyway, since he returned from the seminar, he had entered the family business to take over. Qin did not know why this B** starred suddenly became crazy. Whether it was Han Su or Wei Li, Qin did not contact them frequently. Wei Li would only contact Qin when he knew something was up. Qin had more things to do, so he did not want to disturb him. As for Han Su, the B** starred, he would only contact Qin when he remembered. Most of the time, he would send Qin a WeChat message in the middle of the night. Qin ignored him, but this guy was not angry. He would continue to send Qin next time. If it were not for the several classmates of the advanced research class who were in Beijing who had called Qin several times, Qin would not be willing to join in the fun. After all, he was in Beijing. It would be inappropriate if he did not go. As for Han Su and Wei Li, they also heard that Qin would attend, so they rushed over from Tianjin and Hangzhou. Otherwise, with their characters, they would definitely not come. Chapter 997. The world of adults was the most realistic. Their interests were always the most important, which was understandable. Because adults had too much pressure and helplessness. Life was like this. No one could live alone. Living was the most righteous thing. Let's take the students of the advanced research class as an example. Before Qin Chang'an got into trouble, they had been contacting Qin a lot. They would send messages or call Qin every now and then. Among them, there were quite a number of pretty girls. Everyone knew what they were thinking. If they could get such a rich husband, it would be a profitable business. Don't think that some women are so noble. To them, marriage might be a business. However, ever since Qin Chang'an's accident, rumors about the Qin family had spread everywhere. Suddenly, these classmates did not contact Qin anymore, as if they had all disappeared from the world in an instant. They were afraid to have anything to do with Qin. They might even mock Qin behind his back. Look at how you used to be so cocky and ignored everyone. Now, you're crying secretly. Your Qin family is going to fall apart like a falling tree. Let's see how you can be cocky in the future. The world was cold, and people were not what they used to be. Of course, Han Su and Wei Li were not among them. Otherwise, Qin would not have come pick them up today, because such friends were not worthy of deep friendship. Han Su did not have so many messy thoughts. In his eyes, friends were friends. As long as they could hang out together, he did not care about their family background. After all, it was not business. As for Wei Li, it was because he and Qin were like-minded. Moreover, their current relationship of interest was more complicated. Moreover, Wei Li knew more than most of the students. That was, even if Qin lost the Qin family, he still had the relationship with the Zhu family. As a matter of fact, after the marriage between Qin and Song, those classmates who had not contacted Qin before started to contact him again. It was unknown who organized this gathering, but it happened to be the first anniversary of the advanced research class. If the Qin family was still in trouble, probably no one would care about whether Qin would come or not. But now, Qin was informed immediately. Many classmates even took the initiative to call Qin to ask if he would come or if he had to come, and so on. Qin was very clear that such a gathering might not be very close to each other, but they would contact each other frequently. Because most of the students were at the same level, they might have a lot of cooperation or business with each other. Who would not make good use of such resources? Qin was not that noble. After all, after the Qin family withdrew from the Chang and system, the Qin family had to consolidate the existing assets and continue to do business. Maybe they would cooperate with these classmates. That was why Qin agreed. There were too many people in the high-speed railway station. Qin only arranged for other people to go to the exit to pick up Wei Li and Han Su, while he waited for the arrival of the two masters in the underground parking lot. About half an hour later, he saw Han Su and Wei Li from afar. However, there were 2 or 3 people behind Wei Li. Qin did not know whether they were his friends or colleagues. Before Han Su got close to Qin, he had already waved at him with all his might. When he arrived in front of Qin, he was so excited that he wanted to give Qin a big hug. However, he was kicked away by Qin. After not seeing him for a few months, this brat had gained a lot of weight. It was true that the children of the landlord's family did not need to worry about food and clothing. F***CK. Qin Sheng, why are you so heartless? I just miss you. Can't you give me a hug? Han Su cursed indignantly after being kicked away by Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng replied angrily, You are not a beauty. If you were, I would have given you to me tonight. I'll even warm your bed. F***CK, you're so disgusting. Han Su looked disgusted. At this time, Qin Sheng looked at Wei Li and said, Old Wei, are these your friends? Why? Do you have other things to do in Beijing this time? Assistant and secretary. I'm here to talk about some cooperation. Anyway, it's not easy to come to the capital. I don't need to go through the trouble again, Wei Li replied truthfully. His luggage was taken by his assistant. Qin Sheng was speechless. Wei Li, you really don't know how to spend money. Okay, let's go. Beijing is really cold. Let's find a warm place to eat first. Wei Li patted Qin Sheng's shoulder and laughed. At the same time, he told the secretary and assistant to take a taxi to the hotel first. However, after Qin Sheng heard this, he asked Bach to send them to the hotel. Wei Li did not say much. He would not be polite to Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng knew that Wei Li wanted to eat Beijing shirgua, so he had already made a reservation. At this time, he rushed to Donglishan first. After eating, he would send them to the hotel. As for other activities in the evening, he would think about it later. After leaving Beijing South Railway Station, Wei Li, who was sitting in the back row, asked casually, Are you engaged? Qin Sheng nodded slightly and said, You already know. How can I not know such a big thing? Many people in Hangzhou know. The Chow family also specially asked about it. They said that they did not inform you, so that they could send you a congratulatory gift. I smiled and said that when you get married, you will definitely invite them. Wei Li explained with a smile. He did not expect that the Qin family would do such a thing. What was more, he did not expect was that Qin Sheng would actually be engaged to the goddess of the Song family. This was really an extreme counterattack, which surprised people. Originally, everyone thought that the Qin family had died without a burial place. Suddenly, they made a comeback. Could it be that the Qin family was going to rise from the dead? Han Su, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, had never cared about these gossips. When he heard Wei Li say that Qin Sheng was engaged, he turned around and was stunned. What? Lao Qin, you're engaged? When? Why didn't I know? You only know how to play. What can you know? Wei Li laughed and scolded. Han Su retorted, Wei Li, get lost. I'm not playing. I've been working conscientiously these days. Every day, I work hard and I have to participate in all kinds of training. I'm like a grandson. Fu**K, why did I say this? Lao Qin, tell me quickly. Not long ago. We got engaged last month, Qin Sheng replied. Han Su said angrily. Then why didn't you tell me? I came to join the fun. Is it the beauty Lin Su that you showed me? No, Qin Sheng said calmly. Han Su was shocked again. Fu**K. Lao Qin, you are not lying to me, are you? In my impression, you are not that kind of man. If it is not the beauty Lin Su, then who is it? I really can't think of it. Actually, you have seen her, Qin Sheng said casually. Han Su looked confused. I have seen her. Who is it? You will know in a while. She is already waiting for us at Donglishan, Qin Sheng explained in a low voice. When Han Su heard this, he said very seriously, Okay, I'd like to see who could take you down and take you away from the great beauty, Lin Su. He is really awesome. Qin Sheng was speechless. Wei Li heard that Song Ruyu was waiting for them at Donglishan. He was more or less flattered. She was the talented lady of the Song family. He had only heard about her before, but had never seen her in person. It seemed that this talented lady of the Song family seldom came out to various kinds of parties, unlike the princesses of other declining families in Suzhou City, who were all high-profile and felt ashamed if they did not become socialites. Well, then let's go quickly. Don't let the goddess wait for too long, Wei Li said with a smile. At the same time, he warned Han Su, when you see sister-in-law later, don't talk nonsense. Han Su snorted and said, Old Wei, do you think I'm a brainless fool? Donglishan, where Qin Sheng invited Wei Li and Han Su to dinner, was near Song Ruyu's home. Nowadays, Qin Sheng always considered Song Ryu first. He did not take the initiative to invite Song Ryu, but just casually told her that he had to report what he had to report. Song Ryu said that she had nothing to do tonight, so she invited Qin Sheng's classmates to dinner together. What else could Qin Sheng say? In fact, there were many people who knew that Wei Li would come to Beijing today. Among them, several students of the advanced research class took the initiative to invite Wei Li to dinner. After all, Wei Li's father was one of the top figures in the Zhejiang business circle. Wei Li's boss was relatively low-key, but with such a father, who dared to ignore him? For example, with a father like Qin Chang'an, who dared not to take him seriously. The glory of the father's generation was achieved through hard work for a lifetime. Naturally, the children and grandchildren could enjoy the fruits of their hard work and have a higher starting point in life than many people. Maybe the ending point of others' hard work for a lifetime was not as good as their starting point. These were all unborn. Only by continuing to work hard, your children and grandchildren could enjoy your glory. When Qin Sheng arrived at Donglishan with Wei Li and Han Su, Song Ryu had been waiting in the box for more than half an hour. She was not in a hurry. She just drank water and dealt with the accumulated work, even when she was home. Therefore, she needed to cultivate her mentality slowly. When the waiter opened the door, Wei Li and Han Su were still chatting in full swing. It seemed that on the way, Han Su mentioned some business of his family, which Wei Li was interested in. It happened to be related to the industry they had recently invested in, so Wei Li took the initiative to chat with Han Su. Unexpectedly, the more they talked, the more he felt that there was a chance for cooperation. Wei Li did not refuse and said that he would visit Han Su's father in Tianjin another day and discuss the details at that time. Han Su was overjoyed when he heard this. He wanted to prove himself in front of his father now. The Han family had invested a lot of money in this project. If he could cooperate with Wei Li, the benefits of the project would be considerable. How could Han Su not be happy? At this time, after seeing them come in, Song Ryu smiled and stood up. Wei Li and Han Su looked at Song Ryu subconsciously. When they were about to take the initiative to greet her, they were stunned at the same time because they had seen this beauty in front of them. There was only Song Ryu in the box. No matter how stupid Wei Li and Han Su were, they could guess that she was Qin Sheng's fiancée. What Wei Li could also understand was that this woman was Song Ryu, who was very famous in the circle of Beijing. She was the granddaughter of Old Master Song and the direct disciple of the nation master. It turned out that they had met before. It turned out that she was Song Ryu. No wonder Qin Sheng told Han Su that he would know when he saw her. Wei Li thought that Qin Sheng meant that Han Su had seen her before. It did not occur to him that even he had seen her before. Han Su was the first to come to his senses and said, "It turns out to be you." Chapter 998. One should see off when Qin Sheng was studying in Tsinghua University's Gaoyan class. Song Ryu happened to go to Tsinghua University to handle some affairs and visited Qin Sheng on the way. At that time, Wei Li and Han Su were also there. When they saw Song Ryu for the first time, they were shocked and even asked if she was Qin Sheng's girlfriend. They did not expect that Qin Sheng's girlfriend was so beautiful. Unfortunately, Qin Sheng's answer at that time was no. He said that his girlfriend was someone else. Han Su also said that if she was not his girlfriend, he would chase after her. Of course, this was a joke. Later, Han Su was quite curious about what Qin Sheng's girlfriend looked like, so he tricked Qin Sheng to show him Lin Su's real face. Qin Sheng could not stand this guy, so he showed Han Su Lin Su's photo. Then Han Su completely gave up, but he thought highly of Lin Su. However, Han Su did not expect that Qin Sheng's wife in the end was actually the beauty he had seen before. Although the two beauties were equally matched, how could Qin Sheng give up the former beauty and choose this beauty? Han Su did not expect that the result would be like this. No wonder Qin Sheng said that he had seen her before. He guessed that Qin Sheng had feelings for this beauty at that time. So he finally broke up with his former girlfriend and chose this beauty in front of him. Bah, scumbag. Qin Sheng's image in Han Su's heart was ruined in an instant. It turned out that Qin Sheng was also such a man. Alas, there was really no good man. It seemed that Han Su was also not a good man. How could he be qualified to laugh at Qin Sheng? As for Wei Li, although he had already known that Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu were engaged, he had not seen Song Ruyu before. This was also the first time for him to see her. However, he did not expect that Song Ruyu was the goddess he had met by chance in Tsinghua University. Today, the mystery was finally solved. Wei Li knew about Lin Su and had seen her before. She was the pearl of the Lin family in Ningbo and was somewhat famous in Shanghai and Zhejiang. At that time, he thought that Qin Sheng and Lin Su were actually a good match. Lin Su was excellent in all aspects, and the Lin family solved the crisis because of their relationship with the Qin family. Finally, they moved from Ningbo to Shanghai. Some time ago, when the headquarters of the Lin family moved to Shanghai, it attracted a lot of attention in the Zhejiang business circle. At that time, several Shanghai leaders were there in person. Unexpectedly, Lin Su and Qin Sheng broke up in this way, and Qin Sheng chose the goddess of the Song family in the end. Of course, if compared with Song Ruyu, putting aside other factors, most men would choose Song Ruyu. After all, the family background of the Song family was far superior to that of the Lin family. In addition, Song Ruyu's strength was even higher than Lin Su's. However, love was not a business, but marriage was sometimes a business. Wei Li did not know what Qin Sheng was thinking, but based on his understanding of Qin Sheng, he knew that Qin Sheng was deeply in love with Lin Su. He had no choice but to do so. After all, after the marriage between the Qin family and the Song family, the current situation of the Qin family had turned around. If it were him, he could only choose this way. Song Ruyu was not surprised by Han Su and Wei Li's surprise, because Qin Sheng had told her that she had met these two friends when she was in Tsinghua University. Song Ruyu had some impression of them, so she recognized Wei Li and Han Su when she saw them. "What's wrong? Are you surprised?" Song Ruyu laughed. Han Su was afraid that he said something wrong, so he hurriedly said, No. Qin Sheng said, "We had met before. I thought we had met somewhere. It turns out that we met in Tsinghua University." Compared to Han Su's panic, Wei Li was still calm. After he came to his senses, he took the initiative to greet them. "I've heard about Goddess Song from my friends in Beijing for a long time. It's just that I'm lucky enough to meet her today. I didn't expect that Goddess Song would become Qin Sheng's fiancée. Congratulations." Song Ruyu had heard about Wei Li from Qin Sheng. The Wei family was very influential in Zhejiang. Wei Li's father had made a lot of money with that tycoon, and Wei Li had helped Qin Sheng a lot in Zhejiang. She smiled and stretched out her hand. "You must be Wei Li. I talked with Uncle Wei when I went to Zhejiang with the leader 2 years ago." Since Wei Li knew that Qin Sheng and Song Ruyu were engaged, he had inquired about Song Ruyu's situation in detail. He already knew that Song Ruyu worked there, which was the think tank of the government. It was not surprising that she had some connection with his father. He shook hands with her and said, "I'm luckier than my father because you haven't invited him to dinner." This was a joke to lighten the atmosphere. Song Ruyu covered her mouth and laughed. Qin Sheng then introduced Han Su. "This is Han Su, the guy who taught me to play games. Alas, don't mention it. I don't have time to play games now. I'm just a coolie," Han Su said unhappily. Song Ruyu said calmly, "You should work hard when you are young, but sometimes you should strike a balance between work and rest. It's not a bad thing to have your own hobbies." After hearing this, Han Su felt that beautiful women's words were indeed different. Of course, this was a joke. From the conversation between Qin Sheng and Wei Li, he could guess that Song Ruyu was definitely not an ordinary person. Otherwise, given the status of the Qin family, Song Ruyu's family background would definitely not be simple for Qin Sheng to give up his ex-girlfriend and choose her. After a brief introduction, they sat down and chatted for a while. It didn't take long for them to get familiar with each other. After all, Song Ruyu had seen all kinds of big events. She often went on business trips with the leader and met many big shots. In addition, she was quite capable, so it was easy for her to dominate today's atmosphere. Wei Li wanted to eat Dong Lishun, so naturally, Wei Li was the one who ordered the dishes. Wei Li didn't stand on ceremony and took the initiative to order the dishes before handing them to others. He had already ordered all the dishes that should be ordered, but he left some space for others to order. In the end, he made sure that everyone was full and didn't waste food. The details showed the truth. Han Su didn't think so. After all, since Wei Li's father could reach this level, he must have trained Wei Li a lot. And Han Su's boss did manage Han Su extensively. Different family education would lead to different results. During the meal, Qin Sheng, Han Su, and Wei Li talked about the class reunion tomorrow. They talked about some of the more high-profile people, especially those who hung around in Beijing. They didn't expect that Song Ryu knew some of them. However, Song Ryu didn't think highly of them. Maybe because Wei Li and Han Su were both Qin Sheng's friends. She told them directly. From Song Ryu's tone, it could be seen that the family background of these classmates was definitely not as good as that of the Song family. Otherwise, Song Ryu wouldn't be so unscrupulous. As for this so-called class reunion, it was different from the class reunion in junior high, senior high, and university. People might be here to meet their old friends, reminisce about their youth, and finally show off to each other. It was similar to the class reunion of Tsinghua University, Guanghua University, China-Europe Changjiang Business School, and so on. People could become classmates because they were at the same level and had the same purpose, which was to make friends and pave the way for their future careers. Therefore, this class reunion was the same. Everyone had a purpose. Those who should improve their relationship did so in case of emergencies, and those who should talk about cooperation did so. After all, a strong alliance was the shortcut to development. Of course, some people wanted to take advantage of the class reunion to ask for help. Whether it was resources or funds, it was easier to ask for help. Everyone talked about more topics. After all, they didn't come from ordinary families. Otherwise, it would be quite embarrassing if they couldn't get a word in. But if that was really the case, they wouldn't talk about these topics. Of course, how could they not drink while eating? Song Ryu didn't care about Qin Sheng. She didn't drink because she was not feeling well today. After dinner, Qin Sheng wanted to send Qin Ryu back. Song Ryu smiled and said, "Let Brother Wu send me back. You haven't seen each other for a long time. You should have a good time. I guess you haven't drunk enough. I won't disturb you." Qin Sheng didn't say much. He smiled and said, "Okay, go back and have a rest. I'll take you to see your grandparents the day after tomorrow." "Okay, I'll go back." Song Ryu nodded and smiled. Then she turned around and waved goodbye to Wei Li and Han Su. Qin Sheng and the others watched Song Ryu get in the car and leave. At this time, Wei Li said, "Goddess Song is really amazing. Today, I finally see her. Qin Sheng, you've made a fortune. I don't know how many young talents in Beijing are envious of you." Han Su muttered, No, I dare not marry such a goddess in the future. Otherwise, my life will be too depressed. It's not suitable for me." Wei Li looked at Han Su and said, "Okay, Han Su, you just need to find a good girl. Let's go. I'll send you to the hotel first. Then we'll continue drinking." Qin Sheng didn't want to talk about these trivial things, so he directly arranged. Wei Li was a little worried. "Aren't you afraid of Goddess Song's inspection? If not, we'll drink tomorrow." Wei Li, "You're doing this on purpose. She won't care about this. Besides, do you think I have bronchitis?" Qin Sheng said angrily. He knew that Wei Li would definitely make fun of him after seeing Song Ryu. Wei Li laughed and said, "I'm kidding. I know you're not. I also believe that Goddess Song is not that kind of narrow-minded woman." Qin Sheng first sent Wei Li and Han Su to the hotel. Although both of their families had places to stay in Beijing, they still preferred to stay in a hotel. After all, everything was convenient. After arriving at the hotel and checking in, Qin Sheng took Han Su and Wei Li out to drink. However, as for where to drink and where to have fun, Qin Sheng was not as clear as Han Su. So in the end, Han Su chose a live house bar and tricked several beautiful women out. He had more resources in this area. In front of Han Su and Wei Li, Qin Sheng would not put on airs. This time, he did not refuse. After all, they were just drinking and having fun. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. Of course, they had a drink to their heart's content. So this drinking party did not end until 2 o'clock in the evening. Qin Sheng was already a little dizzy. On the way home, Qin Sheng picked up his mobile phone and looked at the unread WeChat messages. He saw that Xue Qingyan had just sent him a WeChat message. The content of the WeChat message was very simple. Lin Su will go to the United States at the end of the month. After seeing this message, Qin Sheng instantly sobered up. For a moment, he was filled with emotions. He rolled down the window and let the cold wind hit his face. Of course, he knew why Xue Qingyan sent him this message. After thinking for a long time, Qin Sheng finally replied, "When? I'll send her off." Chapter 999. Finally, Lin Su was going to the United States. The cold wind continued to slap Qin Sheng's face. His blurred eyes gradually calmed down. If it was in the past, Qin Sheng would have vomited by now. But today, Qin Sheng did not feel like vomiting at all. It was as if the strong willpower in his heart had overwhelmed everything. Qin Sheng was very clear that if Lin Su went to the United States, the child in Lin Su's belly was already more than 3 months old. She could not hide any longer. At that time, Lin Su would be in a more difficult situation. Not only would she have to face the pressure from the Lin family, but she would also have to face the eyes of her friends around her. There would also be unknown risks waiting for Lin Su. Therefore, Xue Qingyan decided to go to the United States at the end of this month. Based on Qin Sheng's current situation, if Lin Su went to the United States, he would not be able to see her in a short time. Because the matter between the Qin family and the Chong and faction was not over, especially the case about the old man. Therefore, Qin Sheng must be detained at the border and could not go abroad. Therefore, Qin Sheng finally decided to see Lin Su off. No matter how much pressure he had to face, he had to see Lin Su. Ever since he had gotten engaged to Song Ruyu, Qin Sheng had been forcing himself not to think about Lin Su. It was not that he did not love Lin Su anymore. It was just that every time he thought of Lin Su, he would feel endless guilt and self-blame. While he was enjoying the limitless glory in Beijing, Lin Su had to suffer silently in Shanghai. Qin Sheng was not a heartless scumbag. He could empathize with Lin Su and think about these things. He could imagine Lin Su's situation, but what could he do? If he thought about it often, only pain accompanied him. In the end, Qin Sheng could not do anything, so he could only force himself not to think about it. Because everyone knew that this was not Lin Su's fault. Why did Lin Su have to sacrifice and suffer for these things? She was innocent. But was this also Qin Sheng's fault? Not really. Maybe this was fate playing tricks on this suffering couple. After Qin Sheng replied to the WeChat message, he continued to stare out of the window in a daze. How good would it be if he did not have the identity of the Qin family? How good would it be if he had stayed in Xiamen and lived an ordinary life with Lin Su? That would have been the happiest days of their lives. They would work at sunrise and rest at sunset. The sunshine and the sea were infinitely beautiful. Then, these trivial matters would not have happened. Qin Sheng closed the window. "It's too cold outside. Be careful not to catch a cold," Chong Baji, who was driving, could not help but say. He did not know what had happened to Qin Sheng, but he could tell that Qin Sheng's expression was rather painful. This 30-year-old man had probably experienced more things in these few years than others in their lifetime. He could have been like most other young people, falling in love vigorously, eating meat and drinking wine. However, fate had urged him to grow up. He really did not know how long he could persist. Qin Sheng acted as if he did not hear it and continued to stand in the cold wind. Maybe this could relieve the pain in his heart. When Qin Sheng returned home, the windows were not closed at all. Naturally, Qin Sheng was also frozen. Chong Baji was also frozen. Fortunately, their physiques were stronger than ordinary people. However, Qin Sheng did not receive any news from Xue Qingyan. Maybe Xue Qingyan had already gone to bed, or maybe Xue Qingyan saw him and did not want to reply. In that case, Qin Sheng could only send someone to find out the date of her departure at the end of the month. In the morning, when the sunlight shone into the room, Qin Sheng naturally woke up. The consequences of last night's cold wind was that his head was especially painful today. When Qin Sheng turned on his phone, he saw Xue Qingyan's reply immediately. 30th, 3 p.m., Pudong International Airport. Qin Sheng let out a long sigh of relief. It seemed that he had to arrange his itinerary in advance in case something went wrong. Waking up to exercise and bathing was the rhythm of life that Qin Sheng had been maintaining recently. Only when he was healthy could he have unlimited energy. Otherwise, how could he face those difficulties? Chang Baji woke up earlier than Qin Sheng. They even practiced for a while in the basement gym. Of course, Qin Sheng was completely defeated. After breakfast, all the members of the Qin family went to the headquarters building of Chang and Group. Today, they had to sign a lot of contracts. After all the people present were shareholders of the Qin family in Chang and Group. At present, Zhao Anji was Qin Chang'an's agent and also the vice chairman of Chang and Group. The chairman of the board would continue to be held by the director appointed by sixth uncle. This was also a compromise to sixth uncle. Moreover, it was not a big deal. With such a strong team like Chang Xinyi and Hao Mingyi, the Qin family did not need to worry about other specific things. As long as they spent enough money, they would be able to hire people. For this acquisition plan, both sides invited more than 10 accounting firms and law firms in Siju City. For the period of confidentiality, nearly 20 independent acquisition plans were divided into independent acquisition plans. At the same time, a large number of confidentiality agreements were signed. It could be seen that this was a huge project. Chang Xinyi and Hao Mingyi had set up a team of nearly 100 people to be responsible for this matter. Many of them were transferred from the companies of the Qin family, and some were supported by Qin Sheng from the He family. This was the most important step of the Qin family, and they could not afford any accidents. Similarly, sixth uncle's team was also very large. However, compared with Qin Sheng's team, sixth uncle's team was very relaxed. After all, he had Elder Long as his backer. In the headquarters building of Chang and Group, the Qin family only met sixth uncle, Zhe Yuan, and their agents this time. After all, they were not the shareholders of many companies, but their agents. Of course, the actual control still belonged to them. To avoid being found out by the outside world, these complicated equity contracts were deliberately structured. That was why it was so troublesome when it came to acquisition. Otherwise, why did both sides hire such a large team? After all the contracts were signed, sixth uncle and Zhe Yuan chatted with the Qin family in the conference room. Sixth uncle chuckled and said, "If nothing goes wrong, everything will be over before the spring festival. If this matter is made public, I guess this acquisition plan alone will shock many people. Your Qin family will make a lot of money this time." Zhao Anji replied in a low voice, "Sixth uncle, how can you say that? This cooperation is a win-win situation." The Qin family withdrew from the Chang and system in the form of a clearance sale. After all, the Chang and system is not under the control of the Qin family. It's true that the Qin family got a lot of cash and other high-quality assets. But sixth uncle, you also got what you wanted. Isn't the control of the Chang and system your dream? Compared with the business empire of Chang and Group, what do we get? The funds controlled by Chang and Group are really astronomical. With this leverage, how many industries can you leverage? Haha, Sister Zhao, no matter what, I hope our cooperation goes well this time. Although your Qin family withdrew from Chang and Group, Chang Group is still your family. In the future, the enterprises under the Qin family can also cooperate with Chang and Group, Zhe Yuan said casually. No one in the Qin family answered. Now the Qin family was most unwilling to touch Chang and Group. It was not easy for them to separate the relationship between Chang and Group and the Qin family, and they sold the shares of Chang and Group held by the Qin family. Who would be willing to fall into the mud pit again? The Qin family would never touch the Chang and family again before the storm of the Chang and family was completely over, and the executives made a decision on Qin Chang'an's matter. After all, the Qin family now had a lot of cash and high-quality assets. As long as the integration was completed smoothly, when everything was over, the new Qin family would rise. Sixth uncle continued, "And Ji, I have to say that you are more courageous than Chang and Group. You have the style of Changxing in the past. If Chang and Group had made this decision earlier, maybe today's situation would not have happened." Sixth Master, I hope you will not break your promise to us, Qin Sheng kindly reminded him. Sixth uncle was rarely so happy. He said, "Don't worry. We have made up. I hope we will forget about the past." After talking for a while, sixth uncle and the others left Chang and group. This was the first time they had signed a contract, and there were still two more to sign. If they could be completed smoothly, it would be after the New Year's Day. At that time, the Qin family would take over the high-quality companies after the share exchange. In addition, the Qin family had to clean up their mess. The integration would be completed next year, and the Qin family still had a lot of work to do. The Qin family ate lunch in a nearby restaurant, including Chang Sini and Hao Mingyi. These two really did their best for the Qin family. They had worked hard during this period. Of course, the Qin family would not treat them badly. When all the companies of the Qin family were integrated, they would give Hao Mingyi and Chang Sini some shares. This was also the promise the Qin family had made to them. After Qin Sheng finished his work, he went directly to the hotel to find Han Su and Wei Li. Their class reunion would begin in the afternoon. Han Su and Wei Li would meet some friends in the afternoon, and all the classmates would get together in the evening. Of course, some of them could not come because of their busy work, but almost all of them were there. They would definitely not want to miss such a party. There were more than 20 classmates, and all those who should come had come. When Qin Sheng arrived at the hotel, Han Su, the bastard, had not gotten up yet. It was estimated that he must have had a lot of trouble since he came back last night. In the end, he came back with the girl from Beijing Film. Only he dared to be so unscrupulous. Qin Sheng and Wei Li did not have this ability. After Qin Sheng walked into the room, he found that only Wei Li was left. Qin Sheng laughed and said, "How long did you do last night? You can't do it anymore. Where's the beauty?" She went back to class in the morning. "Why did you do that? If I said that we played games until 5 in the morning, would you believe me?" Han Su washed his face and laughed. Qin Sheng scolded angrily. "I don't believe you. Do you think you are Liu Xiaohui in the present age? Hey, didn't I tell you yesterday? I asked this girl to come out because she was good at playing games. We really played games all night yesterday. Of course, we kissed and hugged, but nothing else." Han Su continued to explain. Thinking of the process of playing games last night, he felt that it was very exciting. Qin Sheng really did not want to pay attention to him. He scolded, "Get lost. Take a bath and eat quickly. When Wei Li comes back, we will set off." "Where did Wei Li go?" Han Su asked curiously. Qin Sheng explained truthfully, "Do you think the first young master Wei is you?" He went to the financial street early in the morning to do something. Damn it, comparisons are really odious. Han Su let out a long sigh and said, "Then I will sleep for a while more." Damn it. After Qin Sheng finished speaking, he kicked Han Su. Only then did Han Su go to take a bath obediently. Chapter 1000. To be honest, with Han Su's character, Qin Sheng really believed that he played games with the beauty for Beijing Film Academy for a whole night. If he liked playing Fight the Landlord or Mahjong, he might have brought 3 or 4 beauties back to play with him. He really didn't know what his father was thinking when he sent this guy to the advanced research class of Tsinghua University. Who knew that this guy didn't learn anything there? He only knew to sit at the back and play games every day. During this period in Beijing, he spent a lot of money and had fun with his scoundrel friends every night. However, thinking about it again, for many people, learning in the advanced research class of Tsinghua University was one of the reasons. The other reason was to make connections and make like-minded friends. In this aspect, Han Su didn't let his father down. He got to know Qin Sheng, the rich playboy, and Wei Li, the son of the vice president of Zhejiang Chamber of Commerce. They were very close, not to mention other friends. In the advanced research class of Tsinghua University, only Qin Sheng could subdue Han Su. So when Qin Sheng kicked him, Han Su didn't dare to continue sleeping. He had to take a bath obediently. In the end, Qin Sheng called the hotel restaurant to send him some food. He estimated that Wei Li had already had lunch. Rich kids were the same as most ordinary people except for their status. Some were content with the status quo and didn't want to make progress. Some were cautious and conscientious. And some were ambitious and determined to make progress. By the time Han Su finished showering and eating, Wei Li had already returned to the hotel. He went directly to Han Su's room and was ready to set off for the place he had agreed to meet with his classmates. This place was chosen by Qin Sheng. It was the quiet Sihiyuan in the noisy Beijing of the He family. Qin Sheng felt that the environment of the place was quite good, so he told the He family and made arrangements. After Wei Li came in, he said, "They have already set off. Let's go." "Wei Li, can you stop working so hard? The more you work, the more you show me that I'm useless," Han Su said impatiently. "Look at this guy. He didn't work hard, but he didn't allow others to work hard." Wei Li laughed out loud and said, "Han Su, I'm working hard. I'm just doing my job well. When you officially take over your family business, you'll know how tiring and busy it is. There will be all kinds of things that will force you to work hard, unless you want to be a prodigal. Go, go, go. You're the prodigal. I, Han Su, have my own goals too. When I take over, I'll first set up an esports club. Look at how profitable esports is now. I can play and earn money at the same time." "Ha ha," Han Su said nonchalantly. Wei Li was too lazy to pay attention to him. He replied, "How big is the esports industry? How can you be interested in it? It's at most a sideline. You probably won't even have time to care about these things when the time comes." Okay, let's not talk about this. I'm going to have a headache again. If it weren't for this class reunion, I would probably still be a coolie carrying bricks," Han Su muttered. Wei Li looked at Qin Sheng and said, "Look at this guy. He doesn't know how lucky he is. When he regrets, it will be too late." Qin Sheng sighed helplessly and said, "Everyone has their own way of living. As long as he doesn't care about what others think of him and his family, he can do whatever he wants. He can even hold a mountain of gold and silver and wait for death to come." "That's true." Wei Li smiled and nodded. Qin Sheng stood up and said, "Let's go. Although we're closer, don't let others wait for us." After that, the three of them stood up and set off for the Sihiyuan of the He family. Old Master, he spent a lot of money to renovate the Sihiyuan of the He family. It was Old Master He's favorite. Usually, only Old Master he came over. Old Master, he would come over to stay for a few days every few days. It was good for him to cultivate his mind and body. Living here was always comfortable. Other people in the He family did not have the guts to come here to enjoy life. They would inevitably be scolded by the Old Master. Only Qin Sheng had the guts to borrow the Sihiyuan from the Old Master. When Qin Sheng came in with Han, Su, and Wei Li, the others had not arrived yet. In fact, they did not have many friends. Apart from them, there were 3 people who could hang out with them at the beginning. After all, there were only 30 people in this advanced course, and they were divided into several groups. Therefore, there were only a few people who were close to them when they were in Tsinghua University. After Han Su came in, he said in surprise, "Oh my, there is nothing different from the outside, but there is another world inside. It's really a good place." Even Wei Li, who was used to seeing the world, could not help but praise. The Sihiyuan in Beijing is like a garden in the south of the Yangtze River. The Qin family is really rich. Even Wei Li, who was used to seeing the world, could not help but praise. This is not the place of the Qin family. It is a place where an old master who is good to the Qin family drinks tea and raises fish. I've been here a few times and thought it was good, so I asked to borrow it. Let's spend the afternoon here. Wei Li joked on purpose. As expected, the rich know the rich. Qin Sheng laughed and scolded him. "Go away." It was already winter. Qin Sheng and the others did not dare to sit outside, but sat in the tea room inside. The housekeeper in charge of this place had already arranged for them to sit together. The tea room was surrounded by clouds and mist, and the fragrance was strong. There was also a beautiful woman playing the guzheng. It was said that she was a talented girl of the Central Conservatory of Music. Old Master, he had sponsored a lot of the folk music department of the Central Conservatory of Music. Therefore, he often invited the guzheng students there to play. Of course, every time he paid, and the price was not low. "Child Qin, what tea do you want to drink?" A middle-aged woman in a cheongsam asked with a smile. She was the housekeeper of this restaurant. Apart from her good looks, she was quite elegant. Qin Sheng looked at Wei Li and Han Su. Wei Li said casually, "Whatever. We are not so particular. Any tea is fine." "Then I will arrange it." After Qin Sheng nodded, The middle-aged woman left with a smile. Of course, she knew what tea was suitable for these childs. The old master personally said that they should treat them well. She did not dare to neglect these distinguished guests. Moreover, she had seen Qin Sheng several times. She knew that he was the old master's friend, and the old master was very polite. Not long after, another beautiful woman in a cheongsam came in to make tea. She was as beautiful as the beautiful woman in the ancient town. However, Wei Li and Han Su had long been immune to beautiful women, so they did not make a fuss. They just drank tea and chatted quietly. A few minutes later, the other 3 students arrived. They were directly led into the tea room by the middle-aged woman. After they arrived, they joked, "This place is really good. You 3 really know how to enjoy life. So corrupt, so corrupt. Lao Luo, you always talk in a weird way. Who knows how you have been enjoying yourself in Hubei? I haven't seen you for such a long time, but you have become so fat. If you share your fat with little Guangdong, the 2 of you will be even." Han Su directly scolded him. This was his character. He had no scruples with his friends he was familiar with, but he was too lazy to care about those he did not know. These 3 students were quite close to Qin Sheng, Wei Li, and Han Su. The one called Lao Luo came from Hubei. His family in Hubei was not simple. In terms of wealth, he could be ranked in the top 5. The other one came from Guangdong, which was what Han Su called Little Guangdong. Although his family background was not as good as Lao Luo's, he was the most successful entrepreneur among his classmates. He had a high-tech company in Shenzhen, which had been listed on NASDAQ. It could be seen that his ability was not ordinary. The last one was Wei Ke from Fujian. This guy was doing well in Fuzhou and Xiamen. It was mainly because an elder in his family had been promoted from Fujian to Beijing. Otherwise, he would not have been able to participate in this advanced research class. Little Guangdong was called Zheng Xinjian. Hearing Han Su's sarcasm, he scolded angrily, "You are Little Guangdong. Han Su, believe it or not, I will beat you up. You're still like this. It is a miracle that you can live until now." Hearing this, everyone laughed out loud. They were in a small circle, and they often drank and ate. After they sat down, Tang Ke looked at Qin Sheng and took the initiative to say, "Lao Qin, I heard that you are engaged. Congratulations. When you get married, you must prepare a table for us." Qin Sheng found it funny and said, "You are well informed." Wei Li said calmly, "Qin Sheng, you don't know this. Tang Ke has been to Beijing more often than me. Her uncle is already a big boss at the ministerial level. We still need Tang Ke to take care of us in the future." Tang Ke shook her head and sighed bitterly. "Speaking of well-informed, you, Wei Li, are the know-it-all in our class. There is nothing you don't know." Everyone complimented Tang Ke. In recent years, many leaders have been promoted in Zhejiang and Fujian. Tang Ke's uncle was also put in an important position. As for whether he could be promoted in the future, no one knew. Tang Ke did not want to talk about this in front of Qin Sheng. She probably only needed one look from Lao Qin, and Yao Yao, the social belle of our class, was reluctant to leave him. I guess that as long as Lao Qin gave her a look, Yao Yao would leave with him that night. Tang Ke did not want to talk about this in front of Qin Sheng. When it was time to keep a low profile, she should keep a low profile. So she took the initiative to change the topic. Han Su scolded angrily, "Forget about Yao Yao. She is too coquettish and not suitable for Lao Qin. I heard that Yao Yao quarreled with another girl in our class. Moreover, both of them came tonight. Will they fight at night?" "Ha ha ha," Lao Luo said, as if he wanted to watch the fun. Hearing this news, Han Su was also concerned. "What the F asterisk CK? Why didn't I know about this? I guess it must be Fong Lu. They're the most high-profile ones. Who else could it be except Fong Lu? Fong Lu is close to Sun Sijia and Zhu Ziyuan. When they graduated, they all knew that Sun Sijia and Zhu Ziyuan's family background was not simple. Yao Yao must have been jealous of them and gossiped about them behind their backs." Fong Lu got angry and started cursing them in the WeChat group. "I guess you guys don't have time to read the messages in the group," Tang Ke explained. Wei Li said with interest, "Then tonight will be interesting. There are many people who are close to Yao Yao. Let's see who will help who." Let's not join the fun, Qin Sheng said calmly. Wei Li nodded silently. We will be in the front row and watch the show while eating and drinking. At this time, Qin Sheng took the initiative to change the topic. Xinjiang, I plan to go to Shenzhen after a period of time. You're a local tyrant in Shenzhen. Introduce me to your Shenzhen venture capital circle. Yo, Lao Qin, what are you going to do? Do you want to invest in me first? Zheng Xinjiang immediately understood what Qin Sheng meant. The Qin family was rich. It seemed that they were going to find a project. Qin Sheng laughed and said, let's talk about it later. Just as Zheng Xinjiang thought, Qin Sheng wanted to go to Shenzhen after the acquisition. The Qin family's future direction was to invest in high-tech enterprises. In this aspect, Shenzhen was the uncrowned king, so Qin Sheng had to go. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.